Good evening, everybody. This is the Marcia Week Show, and we are coming to you live from Barbados. Let me tell you, and it is fire tonight. We are ready tonight. I tell you, we are ready and raring to go. Lashes tonight, the temple getting clean. Listen, we listen. The march is tomorrow, guys. We have the march tomorrow, and there's a change of time. So I want you to make note of it. But tonight it's going to be very, 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 very life changing. It's life changing because it's all about us. It's all about Barbados, and we are going to be, coming up with ideas on how to make this thing better. And the question for you is tonight is: are you ready to work? Are you ready to work for Barbados? Are you ready to pull up the sleeves and work? We're having a little fun sometimes on here, but on a serious note, this trap, this that I bring on here, I know we laugh at it, but this is very, very serious. This is cleanup time. And cleanup time, it requires all of us. It requires all of us, okay? Are you ready to work for Barbados? What part can you play in the cleanup time? So Mr. Thorne will be with us tonight. Mr. Thorne will be with us tonight, and he will be. The schedule is about 7:30. He should be joining us tonight, and so we're asking you to send in your questions. You can WhatsApp in the questions. Some people are doing that already. 236-7000, area code 246. You can WhatsApp in the questions. And even as you are asking him questions, I want you to begin to ask yourself some questions. Loyal sons and daughters of this fair land. And one question I want us to ask ourselves: am I ready to work? Am I ready to roll up my sleeve? And what am I going to give to my country? What can I give? What part can I play? What do I do? You can say to yourself, I watched the whole budget. What part can I play? How can I make Barbados better? I want us to think about that tonight. Let me just welcome those who are on. And I'm going to ask you to like and share. I do have, I see I'm having a little challenge here. I wanted to play, there's a little song I want to play for you all tonight. So, but we were having a little challenge there. So we don't have it just yet. But welcome to everybody. The first person on tonight was Angel Humble. Oh my Lord, we were waiting from 11:03 a.m. This is 7:03. Oh my goodness. And there is David. David David is on as well, was on from 11:38. An advanced welcome to all loyal patriots tonight. I stake out early to see the mighty Thor in action. Why you having me laugh this early? This is supposed to be a serious program. And every night between you guys and Caswell, you have me on here laughing. And it is supposed to be a serious program. I said I'm going to be serious tonight, and you're all having me laughing already. Oh my lordy. Somebody says, David, you see that whip? The mighty Thor ready for action. He's gonna be sore tonight. We're waiting patiently. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. David, hi, David again says, I want to know where the hammer gone. The lots of love. Thor bringing back the cat. They're going to scratch when the cat attack. You're all too funny. Patrick Green, welcome. Yes, Don. The comments are hilarious. They are hilarious. Are you guys sharing? This is a time that you share. This is a time that you share. Hi, Sylvia Rock. Good night. Blessings to you all. I listen every night. It's a good job, and I learn a lot from this show. I learn a lot too, Sylvia. I do. Loyal Daughter 66. Welcome. Oh, it's good to see you, Kay Bowen. Welcome. Um, be good and loyal. Be good and loyal. Good evening, loyal opposition. Gelbiz, great evening. Love and light to all. We marching for freedom, liberation is what we want. Hold the line, stand firm, stay focused, and keep pressing on. Victory is ours. And we know that tomorrow, what time are we meeting tomorrow? At right there at Kensington Mall. What time are we meeting? Please put it in the chat. Let me see who is going to get the correct time that we're supposed to meet. There's a change of time. Type it in the chat now, please, and I will confirm. I'm not going to tell you all. Type it in the chat. I did a little live today to tell you, so you should know by now. Mervyn Marius, good night. Rosalind Corbin, that's our sister Rose right there. She says, good evening, loyal sons and daughters, all firm craftsmen of our faith, waiting in anticipation with you for another great experience together. Much respect, love, and blessings all around. Oh, great to hear from the great Rose Corbin, Erwin Nurse, Owen Hines, Annette Wood, good night. FX Trading, good night. Good night. Erskine Watson, good night. Denzel Grazek, good night. Duly noted, good night. Good night. Heather Heathcliff, I saw you, Heathcliff, at the press conference. How many of you saw that press conference? Diana Husbands, good night. Hi, my namesake Marcia, good night. Just in time, good night. Oh, wow. Clive Osborne, how are you doing? Like and share, folks. Clive is telling you like and share. This is the time that you do that, okay? You don't want to be doing that while we're having these deep discussions tonight, okay? Yes, Tracy Barrow. Pete Way is saying at that time they had all 102 persons were waiting. Tonight we're starting out at 7:07 with 629. Yes, Sir Alfred Benjamin. Yes, Alice Murray. Oh my Lord, great. I can't call everybody's name tonight. Sanchez, Llewellyn Eiffel, Joseph Cadogan. Good night. Rachel Thornhill. Good night. You related to Thor? Marley Knight. Good night. Cecilia Miller. Good night. ADG. Good night. Ronnie Price. New name. I haven't seen. Oh, I know who that is. Ronnie Price. Good night. Judith Sanchez. Good night. I said your name. Judith and Clark. Good night. Jefferson Sobers. Good night. Zaire Campbell. How are you? Good night. Cynthia Mon. Good night. Oh boy, it's so many of you. I can't say hi to everybody, but you're very, very, very welcome. I really want you to feel welcome. And loyal sons and daughters, I want you to know that this is your show. This is about you. This is about Barbados. This is about the people. And tonight you're coming on, you're excited, but I want you to also be thinking about what you can do for Barbados. Are you ready to serve? Are you ready to roll up your sleeve and work? We are talking tonight about service, y'all. It's going to take all of us in our corner. I see Mr. Franklin there, and I want to make sure he's ready. And he's not. I'm not showing him sideways. And I'm going to ask Dave to get the little song up. Yes, I want Mr. Franklin to hear this song as well. Good night, General. Good night. How are you doing?
Good night, Marcia. I am fine. I came home. I didn't cook for myself. I only cooked for the dog. I wanted to be early tonight.
Mr. Franklin, why you want to be early, Mr. Franklin?
I don't want to miss anything tonight. I do not want to miss anything tonight. If what Ralph did in the house was any indication of what he can do, I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to see, and you see, in the house, he had certain rules that he had
Uh-huh.
to be, and he couldn't say certain things, and he was quite decent, you know. He
Yes.
made sure he stayed within the bounds of parliamentary procedure. And but now there's no parliamentary procedure on the show. He just have and he doesn't have to worry about defamation because he's one of the brilliant lawyers in Barbados, so he can go right in. So I don't want to miss this. I don't want to miss a syllable from Ralph tonight.
Oh wow, oh wow. Mr. Franklin, I tell you, you are something else. We're asking the viewers, Mr. Franklin, to send in their questions, and they can do so by WhatsApping 246-236-7000. That's 246-236-7000. All right, and we're going to get that number again up for you. But before we do that, listen, this is a gift that keeps on giving. First of all, Mr. Franklin, I don't know if you heard so far that the march is now at 11:30.
I'm seeing it now on the screen.
Yes. And the police called today. I had went and gotten these from yesterday, signed the contract for 10 o'clock, and they called today. And I tell you the truth, we almost didn't have a march. I won't say everything on air, but the good thing is that everything is resolved because I had done up all the paperwork is here, and they said that there was another march planned, and they're asking us to go a bit later so that we are not, in the middle of them and they in the middle of us. And as I said to them, Mr. Franklin, we always work with the police. We obey the laws of the land. Um, you know, we obey the laws of the land, which is why I went to get all the everything in place for us to make sure that we are following what the laws of the land, what they say. I believe in that, and in supporting the police, and so all is well. All is well. I thank those at the Central Police Station who pushed through for us today to make sure that we can have the march tomorrow. And I want to thank all of those there that did that. Thank you so very, very much. We have a little song here, a remix. This is this is a PM Motley remix. Prime Minister Motley remix. Come on, let's hear it in the house
I'm
tonight.
pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just
Okay, it's not.
pretending
Wait. Dave, it's not working. It's not playing.
I'm
Dave.
pretending
Okay, 1 second. No, that it's not. That's not playing properly at all. I think where he is, probably the Wi-Fi is causing that to happen. But no, it's not playing properly. If we could get it on, let me see. I really want to play, guys. In the meantime, please like and share. Yes, please like and share. In the meantime,
Marcia,
yes.
I'm not the only one, you know. Right now on YouTube alone, we have 798 people only into 13 minutes into the show. I'm not the only one excited.
Let me tell you, and in total there are 854. That means the other 100 and something they're on different my two other Facebook pages. I really wanted to show you that. I wanted to show you that video. It's a pity I don't have it in on StreamYard itself. If I could get it on StreamYard itself, if Dave is listening, and I can get it on StreamYard itself, then I could play it. And because I really wanted to play that for you all tonight, but I don't know what is going to happen with that. I see Dr. Ferdinand is on. Good night, Dr. Ferdinand. Are you on? You ready?
Oh yes, I am. I am as excited as Caswell is. I am looking forward to a exciting, informative, valuable, substantive show tonight. Where the people, Marcia, the
Yeah.
people get to interact with their political leaders. And
Marcia,
that's wonderful.
Marcia, there's something I wanted to say when Freddie came on. I want to tell him now, if you don't mind. Um, today is such a great day. We must congratulate Combermere for being the double crown champions of be shot. You know, I always
Yes,
expected this. I've been expecting this
yes.
for years.
I congratulate you, even though it took you 20 years to get there, but that's okay. Our
But
colleges can win it
the,
for
the,
many years,
the, the race is not for the swift, but
but to the
but
point.
endureth to the end. And
Yeah,
this
but
time it was for the swift Combermerians and those
yes,
who endure. You see.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Congratulations. Congratulations. They're in order. Yes.
Yeah, as we said tonight, I'm seeing Kimar on tonight, and I want the people to know we are on to support Ralph tonight, the leader of the opposition. He's gonna shine tonight. It's his night tonight, and you guys and the people. We want to break down the barrier, any barrier between him and the people, that veil broken tonight. And it's about him and about him answering and you offering the questions. We want the questions from you. The questions are trickling in, but we want them to come in. Good night, Kimar. How are you? I was hoping you would join early. Good night, Kimar. He's probably not ready yet.
Hi, good night, good night.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
night, Himar.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear
Yes,
you
we're
loud and
hearing you.
clear.
Yes, good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night. Wonderful to see
Yeah.
you.
Pastor Ferdinand, glad to see you. Guys, always happy to see you in your red green shirt tonight. Yes, yes. Marcia, looking lovely as always. And, Kaz, you notice she has a brand new set going on. It's looking nice. So you got to give her some compliments on that. And
No, Ralph
I
is
want
coming. You
to.
see, so she's posted for Ralph.
Listen. What did Kimar say? I missed it. What was that? I screwed up.
He just said how lovely you were looking and how
Oh,
beautiful
thank you.
your set was. All your backdrop and everything. Your set
Oh
is so
yes,
lovely. So
listen.
Mr. Franklin is saying you did that just because Mr. Thorne's coming on.
Can I tell you all the truth? The truth of the matter is, I set up, guys. I'm Kimar. I set up in my son's room who is away, and we got a call yesterday. I'm coming in tomorrow, Mom. So I had to clear out and find another room. So that is
Marcia,
why. But
I
over to
have
you, Kimar. I think Kimar was saying something. I'm sorry.
yes.
No, I was just saying, welcome to all the loyal opposition members. Again, the opposition is growing from strength to strength, and I look forward to seeing all of you at the march tomorrow at 11:30.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
outside the Kensington Oval, and we march into our spot in Independence Square. And if I am right, we are staying at Independence Square
Yes.
for something after. We're not leaving. So I am happy for that. Many persons have been asking how come we weren't doing it all the time, but this time we're doing it. So we look forward to seeing all of you down there. Bring out the chairs and stuff. Let's have a grand time down there in Independence Square. But tonight
Yes.
is all about
Yes.
the presence of as following off on what you said. Tonight is all about the removing of the veil and the barrier between the leader of the opposition and the people. And this is what the people crave for. This is what the people want. A leader who is humble, who would come amongst the people, who's not too pompous to come and sit with us, the citizens of Barbados, on these platforms. So this type of engagement can only do well for the people in terms of having direct access to their leader, that they could ask questions, respectfully and unfiltered, and receive engagement. I like to see that replicated across Barbados, where officials, government officials, will sit and allow citizens and interact with citizens and answer questions. Um, because I would like to see the day one of the ministers of government come on this show and be
Correct.
questioned.
Yeah, I've been
Like,
asking them for years.
so with Mr. Torrance' presence here, I am hoping that this can give some others, particularly those in government, some motivation to come on the show and to interact and allow the people and the citizens of Barbados to have direct access to them and to interact on this level.
Totally
Yes,
agree.
yes.
They've been
And,
invited.
and with the questions that are going to come in, our panelists are going to help us to, to find the questions, because with so many people on, we don't want to miss your questions. We're very, very serious. We're here to serve you. This is not our show. This is your show. So we want you to put those. You can put it in the comment section, but bear in mind that the comment section is flowing really fast. All right. So what you can do, just write this number down now. Okay, 236-7000. 236-7000. Very easy to remember, and you can WhatsApp your question there, and we are going to do our very best. Obviously, we have limited time, but we're going to do our best to get your questions to the leader of the opposition. All right. So we are serving you tonight. Okay. Yes. You're
I have
muted.
the. I
You're
have
muted
the.
as well.
Marcy, I have
oh yeah,
the.
sorry.
I have the
Okay,
clip.
1 second. Mr. Franklin was trying to say something. Go
No,
ahead.
I was saying, well, I don't want to be a stick in the mud and spoil anything, but because this is about Ralph tonight. But I still have to come in and say something about the Prime Minister. Because we saw the clip going around, it went viral all over the place, where she said that she doesn't know maths in English, and she don't pretend to know maths in
I have
English.
a remix of that I want to play for
Yeah,
you.
I saw it. But the see, thing is, it was a slip of the tongue, and everybody knows what a slip of the tongue is. She had a slip of the tongue and told the truth, and it's simple as that. It was we have slips of the tongue all the time, but this slip of the tongue, well, she told the truth this time. That's all it was. It was
Yeah.
a pure slip of the tongue, and it was she it was I give her that. She's not perfect, and she can
Yeah.
have a slip of the tongue, and that slip of the tongue is what we saw. She pretends to care about people. It was a slip of the tongue. She didn't mean to say it. So I give her that much.
Let's play let's play it now. We have it all ready to play.
I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. Good at maths nor English. English. Pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending, and I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
I tell you, that's the remix. That's the remix. That's the remix.
But I'm sorry that she didn't she stayed at maths in English, because she could have gone on to, I don't know, I pretend to know about maths, English, law, economics. She had a whole thing that she could have gone on to, decency, there were a whole set of things.
Mr. Franklin, they want to hear it one more time. They want to hear. This is original, so we don't have to worry about copyright, because this came hot off the press today. People dying with laughter. As Mr. Franklin always say, that everything is so hard. Sometimes people tell me they watch the show and they, so we can have a little have a little fun a little bit at our own expense. So let's have it. Okay. So we're gonna let's remove the everything off, and then let me get it back on. And the anthem is gonna come, but we're gonna do the anthem just before the leader of the opposition joins us.
I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. Good at maths nor English. English. Pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Listen, when I first got that, I was laughing. It's good to have fun. We know that it's an edited job. We know she would have said something else, okay? But it is still fun. It's good, clean fun. and that it is. It's just fun.
It's going to go viral. It's going to go viral. That's going to be one of the biggest sellers in the market.
I can't hear you.
No, I said that's about the 20th time I heard it. I had it on repeat.
Oh my goodness.
I'd like Hurricane Raider. Watch Hurricane Raider.
What's that?
Watch Hurricane Raider, the comment.
What's the name of the person?
Hurricane Raider. He said pretending to be PM, apparently too.
Oh my goodness. Listen. That's the young people for you. That's young people when they get involved in things. That's why I tell you, I love me. I love young people, and as I said, that it can be so tough to listen to all these things about what's happening in Barbados. Sometimes it needs to. Somebody said to play tomorrow.
Regular load and clear.
We have to play this on the march. We have to play it on the march tomorrow.
Oh dear.
We have to play it on the march tomorrow. It has to be played. Oh my Lord! I tell you, it's good. It's good to laugh. Let me see where Kimar is coming in. Kimar coming in. Kimar, how you like the remix? You're not hearing me?
No, you don't, Perso.
Okay. Yes.
Let me quiet.
Yeah.
For some reason, my Wi-Fi is really poor tonight.
Oh wow.
But you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm hearing you too. I'm praying that his is fine up there. If not, we're gonna have to turn off some of this stuff so that we can hear him. I found that there was a problem with the Wi-Fi. Go ahead, Himar.
Yeah. The last thing I saw was the video on the screen. Boy, oh boy.
Rose is trying to find out if she's the backstage. She is.
No, she's not. So she probably has the wrong link. I will just I will resend. Yes. Thank you, Caswell. Yes, go ahead, Kimar.
Yeah, Marshall, you were asking me a question before because I didn't quite pick up on what you were saying.
Right. I don't remember.
You ask him how he liked the remix.
Oh, boy. You see no way the cybercrime bill is very broad for us, you know.
Precisely.
This cybercrime bill, what? Boy, oh boy. I remember at the time when they were doing all those memes on the last prime minister, you know, and doing all those videos and stuff they had some of the last days in dresses. I had a wig and thing on them, and people were laughing. And no, I know the views have turned. I know we have the prime minister who was in parliament criticizing people about exams. Then she openly admitted that she's not good at math nor English. But
Or law.
the thing that she said, but the thing she campaigned on last time was that Mia cares. So it's now Mia pretended to care.
But you're so right. I mean, if the cybercrime bill was in effect,
Yeah.
we would surely be in prison.
Yeah,
All of us here tonight,
we would meet in the mess hall for breakfast some mornings.
right? Listen, they need to make some TikTok videos and everything. You know, I remember those memes. I remember those memes that were being made, and you know, and I mean, this is good. At least it's not something that is criticizing, you know, laughing at her physical attributes as they were doing with which you know, I would not be part of that. Because you know, those are things you can't change about yourself. You know, this was clearly, I mean, it's a slip of the tongue, and it's funny, you know, because it is our, as you said, it's our campaign slogan. It's like it's a gift. It's like the people got a gift.
Yeah, it was definitely a slip of the tongue, but she slipped and told the truth.
All the time. Listen. So we need you know, I remember, yes, you're right, Rat is the big rat. They did all kinds of remixes, they did all kinds of different things, and it's part of it. And I know, I mean, they've done stuff with me. They took my pretty picture and do all kinds of things with it, and say, put captions and all kinds of things on me. So it's fun, you know, it's fun. That's what it is. Yeah. All right. It's 7:33, and so you know, I'm seeing Mr. Glenn Murray's trying to come in. Let me see if it's on. And Mr. Murray, you can keep your camera off if you're having any trouble. So. Yes.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with the camera, so I'll stick to the mic when necessary.
Yes, no problem. Good night, sir. Good to hear your voice.
Good night. Good night.
What are your expectations tonight?
Well, I'm hoping that the country will have a chance to hear Mr. Thorne more fulsomely on a number of the issues that have arisen since his presentation, on which I'm sure he will deal with adequately and put certain things to rest wherever possible. Myths, lies, half-truths, whatever. I think the country is ready for more of him, given the response has fallen since then. I think he's caught the government off guard as regards the response of the public to him. The public, it seems though the public needed somebody like him at this time. You know, you always believe that societies are organisms. They respond to their needs. And I think his presence has evolved out of a certain need in the society at the moment, and he's dealt with it very well last week. And I expect more of the same as he finds his feet, as he organizes himself, as he finds his rhythm and whatnot, as he responds to society. I will not attempt to. I hope at some other time to give my own, have certain insights and angles on the budget presentation by the Prime Minister, etc. But tonight, I really want him to be. I want to be all Mr. Thorne and yourself. I know you have a way of getting things out of people. I think I told you at one time you would be an excellent journalist. The way you follow issues and pick up on them and ask pertinent questions. So yeah, I expect more of the same tonight. And I think tonight should be a good night. I think the public is waiting with bated breath to hear and see more and to understand more and to get more insights and explanations and information as to the man, Ralph Thorne, his philosophy, his attitude, and how he goes about things.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Correct. And we're all yes, go ahead, please.
My only I must say to once again, I'm very proud of him as a Spoonersill Gazette's Longat Spoonersill Gazette's man. Again, Spoonersill is in my DNA. And also I can't leave out another current leader from that area, Minister of Tourism, Mr. Ian Goodnedger. So they have come from the roots of the society and they've done very well for themselves. I'm very proud of them.
We on protocol, Mayor?
Well, I don't want to get personal because Mr. Thorne did not have that good fortune to go to Colombier, but I just said on.
I'm just going to ignore those comments.
You see what I mean? It's kind of
when you're aloft, when you're in the loft area, there are things that just don't get up. Anyhow,
if I might have one quick second, I remember in 1960 when we won what we call the inter-school sports at Kensington Oval. That's the first time we won in many years, and we rode march on the road from Kensington Oval all about through Broad Street, Roebuck Street, down St. Michael's Road, and the society went crazy. We were called hooligans and wild boys. How can you do this? Like, no, this is cool. The next year, Cordial Party won and rode march from Kensington to Spikestown. And so now celebrating in that kind of way has now become the norm. So it really, really has been quite a change in public attitudes as to how. And there was no violence, no misbehavior, no fighting. Just people exuberantly celebrating a good time for the school. And these kind of things don't come very often in the school cycle, It goes up and down. Everybody, this is the good thing about life. Always cycles. Today you're up, tomorrow you're down. Somebody rises, somebody's down. So we are enjoying the good times now.
Well, it's up and on for Barbados. It's up and on for Barbados.
Thank you. I feel Marcy would have made an excellent call, Mary. Not sure about Kimar or Douglas for that, but Marcy has the spirit.
I made an excellent Harazonian.
Whenever I go to BSAC, I always
we sympathize with him.
I know.
You see the colors I'm in? I'm in Springer colors. Okay, I'm a big Springer girl. I didn't go to Springer, people. I went to St. Andrew High School for girls, but I in Jamaica. But I cheer for Springer because a lot of my dancers are at Springer, and I cheer for them. But,
my wife is an old Springer girl.
Springer girl, yeah.
Yes.
But guys, as we're here, Mr. Thorne is on his way, and I'm hearing an echo. And let me see if I mute Mr. Murray, if that might help. I think it's him. Yeah. But can I just say, guys, can we? This week has been. Today is Friday, and I feel tired already. I feel so tired because we had such a week. Tops all kinds of emotions. What of all that happened this week? What's the highlight for you, Mr. Dr. Ferdinand?
Wow,
the budget and the estimates.
I would have to say the highlight for me was Mr. Thorne's reply to the budget. That was the highlight.
And what aspect of it?
Well, the number one, the manner of his presentation. He was what's the word I'm looking for? He was respectful. I think is the correct language. He didn't call names. He didn't call anybody names. He was absolutely diplomatic in his language. He was on point in terms of his substance as well as the evidence to support. He was not just saying things, Marcia, but he was also providing substantive evidence, which one would expect as an attorney at law he would do that. Well, of course, the Prime Minister is an attorney at law as well. But the challenge that we had is that really there was no budget. There was no balance sheet of the government to show what was spent, how it was spent, and what was the projected expenditures and where it would go. There was just a lot of political, what I would call rah-rah. And I was very impressed with how he systematically disassembled, if that word exists, the budget bit by bit and addressed every area in terms of the Barbadian economy and society. I was very impressed with that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I see Mrs. Corbin is in. I'm just giving her a little time to settle and
Yes,
just
Dawn,
to
yes.
get her thoughts on this week as well. Kimar, what's the standout piece for you for this week with the estimates? You have the budget and the reply to the budget. What's it? Actually, it's really the budget and the reply to the budget this week. Kimar, what's the standout piece for you?
Well, before I get into it, I'm gonna tell you what stands out to me. However, but I want to tell you it in a humorous form based off some pictures that I saw.
Yes.
Somebody say, "Get you a Ralph Thorne license plate MP 7,500 and enter to win a competition, get a whole house free."
Oh Lordy, we need to get that up. We need to get that up. Oh boy, we need to get that up.
Oh, wow.
But on a more serious note, I think Mr. Thorne was brilliant in the execution of the presentation. To me, it touched all, if not indeed all, aspects of governance in Barbados. He highlighted where there was a lack of transparency, where there was clear breakings of the law, contraventions of the law. I see they tried to heckle him. I should say that I was there in the gallery, so I saw it live. So I feel proud. Right? I feel really proud to have witnessed such a historic moment where we finally have an opposition leader who was able to articulate the concerns of Barbadians in such a smooth way that resonated across, to me, the world, because I have people from the US, Canada, Europe sending me what was said in Parliament.
Yeah.
So personally, for me, I enjoyed the way how he spoke about white oats. I enjoyed the way how he spoke about the poor and how the poor are being left out, and you're hiring consultants and the poor are being forgotten. I like how he represented for the people who have less.
I'm going to break you a little bit there. Mr. Thorne is here, and I want to give him the fullest of time. So I'm going to break your thought there a bit. Okay, thank you so much. We are going to go, Rose, I'm going to hope that we have any time at the end there, but I'm going to go straight in because we told the people 7:30 and it's 7:43 and he's been waiting. I didn't realize he was there. My apologies. But let us go right into somebody's, let's see here. Okay, let's go right into the national anthem. And then we're going to have the man, it's always a joy to hear that anthem. And tonight we want to welcome Mr. Ralph Thorne in our midst. He is the leader of the opposition here in Barbados. Sir, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Thank you very much, Marcia. Good night to everyone. Ferdy, special congrats to Caswell, Kimar, and Mrs. Oh, I'm tired. Help me with names.
Rose Corbin.
Rose Corbin.
Mrs. Rose Corbin. Rose present there on Tuesday. That was Rose?
Yes, yes.
Oh, always a pleasure meeting you there, Rose.
Pleasure. Pleasure for you, a jolly good fellow.
Thank you very much. And thanks to Andrew Cave, who said the prayer. That was lovely.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Tuesday outside Parliament. I know what I did in there, but I'm not being patronizing when I say that was a good start to the day. The welcome outside Parliament, the very spontaneous welcome. And then the prayer that went up, the spontaneous, well, I think he planned it, but I didn't know it was going to happen. And I want to publicly thank Andrew. Well dressed as he was, I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned that his clothes look a lot better than mine. But Andrew did a wonderful thing on Tuesday, and I'm grateful. If he's listening to us tonight or watching us, Andrew, thanks so very much for the prayer. Maxine is not with us yet, but Maxine was there as well. Look, Tuesday had a good start. It really had a good start, and I'm grateful. It put me in the frame of mind so that if you thought that I was relaxed in the Parliament, that start that I had outside, I'm sure contributed to my comfort, because admittedly you go there feeling somewhat nervous, and it was good to see friends. And I want to thank everybody for coming and giving me that kind of welcome.
Yes, that's what that was the idea behind it. You know, that you would see, you would feel that support, and I agree with you. That prayer really gave that. It kind of rounded off everything there.
Yeah.
Mr. Thorne, you know what? One of the things that we want to do tonight is allow you some time to address the people. And to address Barbados. We have about 1,500 people on, a little over 1,500 people on, and it just keep growing. Every time I look, the numbers are going up. I want you to speak to Barbados, and then they've sent some questions for you, sir. So we're changing up the format a little bit this time around. So we're going to allow you to give some opening remarks.
Yes, thank you very much. And I feel obliged to address two issues that have arisen. The question of my absence for part of the day on Wednesday, and not only my absence, but my decision, a very deliberate decision to leave early. And I will explain that to you. And I obviously absolutely must address this matter that was raised by Ms. Bradshaw. I'll come to that second. As to my absence on Wednesday, I understand that two political scientists went to the media today, or they were carried in the media today as offering some criticism as to my absence, and this absence is related to future prospects. I'm not worried about future prospects. I'm concerned about the present duty that I have. I will repeat that. I think I said this before, and I'll say it again. When I made the decision to cross the floor, I felt that, I would just cross the floor, and that I would oppose the government, as I'm supposed to do constitutionally, and if there were any virtue, I would give praise to that. But where there is vice, or where there's reason to criticize, that I do that. What I really did not expect is what I experience every day, including today. There are people stopping me and saying, thank you. There's people who are giving a spiritual interpretation to it. And when I say spiritual, I don't mean religious. People are saying, look, this is something that seems to be ordained from above. And when people say that to me and I go home and I think about it, I am beginning to believe, and I don't want to exaggerate it, every day, every time I leave home, supermarket, the cashiers, you go to Cape Shepherd today, the people who served me when I made my purchase, everywhere, the gas station, people are telling me, we're glad you've done this, and they give a spiritual interpretation to what I have done. What that tells me is that prior to my crossing the floor, and I'm not taking any credit for it because my presence there may be largely symbolic. What occurs to me is that Barbadians were feeling a sense of spiritual defeat, that there was this this inability to express themselves, and you know, Marcy and others, I'm giving this show a lot of credit, because if this show were not happening in Barbados, Barbados would have been a very quiet place. Barbados would have been a place of a population that was exhibiting fear, the fear of expressing self, the fear to speak, the fear of speaking, the fear to criticize. And were it not for this show, Barbados would have been a very quiet, spiritually defeated place. And apart from people having the courage to say things on Facebook and the other media, a lot of people were afraid. And I saw that from my own Facebook publications. I watched a trend in which people who were willing to praise me for my political work, a lot of that fell off. And that's a trend I was watching. And I think a lot of it disappeared because people were, it came to a point at which people were afraid to give me any praise. And that is something I observed because they felt that I was not popular with the leader of Barbados. And they felt that if they gave me any praise, they would fall out of favor with the leadership of Barbados. I saw that, I understand that, and I don't hold it against them. But the larger point I'm making is that prior to my crossing of the floor, it seems to me that there was a sense of spiritual defeat. There was a sense of fear hanging over Barbados. And trust me, I get it every day. People are expressing gratitude. People are saying thank you. So I can't emphasize that enough. Now, as to my absence on Wednesday, a combination of things. I confess that I felt very, very tired on Wednesday morning. I did stand on my feet for 5 hours and speak. And when I got home, I didn't sleep very well on Wednesday night. I don't know if it's adrenaline. I don't know what it was, but I didn't sleep very well on Wednesday night. And therefore, I wanted to rest on Tuesday night. Wednesday night, I didn't sleep very well either for a different reason. But so Wednesday morning, I dressed for Parliament, and I spent a fair bit of time at my office, and I was following the debates, trying to do other things. I was following the debates, and I was hearing some very interesting things said. I will come back to my departure to my arrival at Parliament on Wednesday evening, and my premature departure. And I will explain that. And I will begin by focusing on what the two political scientists said today. One apparently was very harsh in criticism, speaking as to my career, how far it will go, and what I did has damaged my career. Well, that's a view that one can hold. I would just say to that person that some people do have a difficulty objectively evaluating a set of circumstances. A lot of people see the world only through the lens of personal prejudice. They evaluate circumstances not based on the circumstances themselves, but how they relate to the person. And to be honest with you, of those two political scientists, I've only ever met one. I've only ever met Peter. I've never had the pleasure of meeting the other one. I don't think so. But I don't mind saying, Marcy, on your show that I've heard before. I've heard this person expressing views on me before, and they do go beyond the pale. I mean, when you reach the point on brass tacks, people are calling in and saying, "Oh, he spoke well," and that is met with a certain coldness. then you say, oh, well, after so many years in Parliament, he doesn't even know how to address the Speaker. Now, when you reach that point of criticism, that is when I have to say, I have to resist it. I have to say, look, are you being objective here, or are you seeing everything through personal prejudice? Now, let me say to that person that you can address the Speaker as your honor. His title is His Honor, the Speaker. And I am not one who stands in a parliament and every 3 words say, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker. A lot of people who do that because they are at a loss for words. And when they are at a loss for words, they believe that the only way fluency can continue is to say, Mr. Speaker. I'm experienced enough to know that you can alternate it. You can say, Mr. Speaker, or you can address him as your honor. His title is His Honor, the Speaker. So if you have the privilege of a radio program and you're going to be telling the public that after 6 years in Parliament, he doesn't even know how to address the Speaker, accept that you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. And it is a criticism that I don't accept. And it is a criticism that I listen to. And I really can't accept it. I must reject it. It is a criticism that is coming from a place of absolute ignorance. And when you're going to abuse the privilege that you have of a radio station, of the airwaves, and reduce your evaluation of a person to utter nonsense, you really need to find another topic to discuss. But as I've said, it seems to me as if some people can't evaluate circumstances or can't assess anything objectively unless they're looking through a lens of personal prejudice. I've never met the person before, never had the pleasure of meeting the person before. But, you know, I would ask that people try to be fair. Beg your pardon. I would ask that people try to be fair towards others. I mean, in your assessment of people and what they do, try to be fair. And don't reduce yourself to the ridiculousness of saying that a man in Parliament 6 years and he doesn't know how to address the Speaker. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And please hear tonight that you're wrong. And don't reduce yourself to that petty criticism in which you're absolutely wrong. So that when you begin like that, it colors all that you say thereafter. I don't want to get angry with the person. I mean, but, you know, I had to clear that. As I've said, I've met Mr. Wickham before. We've been very cordial. He expresses his views. A lot of his views I don't agree with. But people are entitled to say the things they want to say. But I would urge people, try to be objective. Try to adhere to truth. Just try it. So that having listened to what they said and being able to dismiss what they said in relation to my absence. Let me explain it this way. As I've said before, on Wednesday morning, I was extremely tired. I followed parts of the debate while I was at my law office. And then in the sometime in the afternoon, I said, look, I have an obligation. I have a duty. Let me go across to the Parliament and be present. Now, when I got there, obviously the speeches, I think I got there during can't remember. I think I got there during a recess. And I think it was the recess. Anyhow, even if I were there, I would not have gone to the lunchroom. And that's a personal decision. In fact, over the last calendar year, 2023, I don't think I had visited the lunchroom in Parliament once. And there's a reason for that. The lunch is good, but I had not visited the lunchroom in Parliament during 2023. The first time I went to that lunchroom was this year, 2024, when I became the leader of the opposition. But that's another issue. Now, I got there and I heard a couple of the speeches. One was particularly good. Well, let me use the word decent. He was objective. He stood up. He discussed his portfolio. He made a reference to me. And it was almost academic. I remember part of my speech saying, look, come, let us reason together. Let us get academic. Let us propose to the people of Barbados our views on the economy, on the society. Not not personal abuse, not personal invective. And one parliamentarian, he got up and I really admired how he conducted himself. And that was good. He did not agree with anything I said. I don't think I agreed with anything he said. But it was wholesome academic discourse on the portfolio. I'm not going to call his name because he may get into trouble. But I enjoyed his contribution. I'll tell you, after that, as they say, all downhill. Now, the fact that it went downhill did not surprise me. I expected it. Kimar referred to the heckling. I mean, when I started, the heckling started, and I will tell you, the heckling comes from, it tends to be about 3 or 4 persons. And what is ironic is that these 3 or 4 persons would want to describe themselves as senior MPs, and it is concentrated among that 3 or 4 persons. Yeah. And when they started to speak, I knew what was coming. I sat in a parliament, and after I heard what I heard, I said, look, this is no longer a parliament. This has become a cauldron of malevolent personal abuse. One man got up and said that I am guilty of the five deadly sins, 5 of the 7 deadly sins, and he started to list them. And he started to, I think he said, I'm envious, and that during my speech, I kept referring to him. I watched part of my speech and discovered that the reason I kept referring to him is because I was telling the speaker, look, I can hear him. Yeah, I can hear him. He kept interrupting, sniggering, which is something he does quite often. And when he started, I made a personal decision. I said, look, the people elected me to come to a parliament. This is not the behavior of a parliament. I repeat, this has become a cauldron of personal, malevolent abuse. And I made the decision there and then. I am not going to sit and face a torrent of personal abuse from people who should know better. So I picked up my bag, put my captains in my bag, and left. And left as a mark of personal protest against the abuse of the privilege of standing in parliament, the abuse of membership of a parliament. That ceased to be a parliament. But as I've said, I expected it. But when it goes to that level, when it goes that far, who am I? Why am I supposed to sit in a chair, not only receive this torrent of abuse, but sit there and pretend that I am grinning? To have sat through that would have been to accept that it is part of parliament. It is not a part of parliament. If it happens in other parliaments, so be it. But I am not subjecting myself to that. So my position, curse the chair. Look at the chair and curse the chair. I'm no longer there. Curse the chair. It ceased to be a parliament. And I picked up my bag and left. Now, when I got into my car, and I can tell you, they may deny it, but I know it affected them that I left. I know it affected them. I know they felt embarrassed because, and let me tell you, they were sent to do that. I know they were sent to do it. I looked at the lineup of them. One of them, he was supposed to come immediately after me, but he was postponed to wrap up things on the night and to assassinate his character on the night. I am not sitting in any parliament and allowing myself to be humiliated and to be subjected to personal abuse. I'm not doing it. So I left. Now, when I got into my car, I said, I will follow what they're saying from in my car. Driving home. No apology. No apology. I'm driving home. And it continued. This is another speaker now. And I don't even remember what he was saying. But whatever he was saying, I heard about 2 lines of it. And on my way home, I heard the BBC. I just turned my radio to the BBC. I said, I don't want to hear it. It is unparliamentary. It is uncouth. And I don't mind saying to them outside of Parliament, they can do whatever they wish to. They are uncouth people. So I turned the radio in my car to the BBC, and I became more relaxed. I heard something wholesome. Always you can hear something on the BBC that is worthy of listenership. So I drove home. And when I got home, I was told that they had moved them from that speaker to another speaker, and that is where, as they say, it went farther downhill. That is where my family became extremely upset. I mean, we do have families, and I was being told, look, you have to go to the media tomorrow. You have to issue a statement tomorrow. This is urgent. This is where you are being criminalized. This is where people are saying that you were involved in criminal activity some 2009 or 2008. Let me say now. It is an absolute lie. It is an absolute lie. And I suspect that even the person who said it knows it is a lie. It has no basis in truth. I have practiced law for 40 years in this country, and I have never, ever committed theft or impropriety in relation to anybody's monies. And the public must hear now. Marcia, do I have more time?
Yes, you do. Yes,
Good.
you do.
Sometime early in this century, my office was on Roebuck Street. I'm going to tell everything tonight. My office was on Roebuck Street, right next to the Urban Development Commission. And a friend of mine used to work there, and he said, look, Ralph, Urban is facilitating the transfers of tenantry lands to people across St. Michael. That's why it was called Urban Development Commission. Somebody lives in an urban tenantry. Marcia, do you know what's a tenantry?
Yes.
Right. These are people who live on lands owned by, let's say, John Brown. John Brown has owned that land for 50, 60 years, and you've had generations living on that land owned by John Brown, and they have never owned it, so that they cannot go to a bank and use it as collateral for a mortgage or security for a mortgage. But as life goes on, their children, they educate their children, and the land has value if you own it. The government passed the law, the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, in 1984, I think, giving people who had lived on tenantries the right to purchase. And I said at a meeting in 2022 during the election that was a revolutionary piece of legislation. It applied to plantation tenantries, and it applied to tenantries in St. Michael. That here it is, the government was saying, look, people who live on tenantries, we are going to give them the right to purchase. Now, you can't give you can't give a man a right to purchase another man's car. The man has a right to his car. So you can't force a man to sell his car. You can't force a man to sell his land. The government felt that people who had lived on tenantries for years and years, that they did have moral rights. It wasn't a legal right because the land belongs to John Smith or John Brown, as the case may be. So the government had to amend the Constitution. Well, before I say that, I should say, if you force a man to sell what is his, it is an unconstitutional act because you're depriving the man who owns of his property. Yeah, it is called deprivation of property. And under the Constitution, you cannot deprive a man of his property. The state, the government, if you wish, cannot deprive a man of his property. So they had to pass this law called the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, which gave the government the right to force a sale. In other words, they were saying to the landlord, look, we are taking your property and we are forcing you to sell it to the tenants. Now, it was unconstitutional, but it was just. So that they had to amend the Constitution to make that particular act an exception to the Constitution. You're following me? Sometimes the law is boring. Yes. So that this particular piece of legislation, while it would ordinarily have been unconstitutional, the legislation itself amended the Constitution to allow this to happen. And I feel I must tell the entire story. So that you had, and this was an act that applied to poor people who had lived on land for generations, and they never had the right to own it. They paid rents indefinitely. So the government passes this law. Insofar as it applied to the tenantries in St. Michael, I think when government first passed the law, it was 4 persons, 4 parcels of land. Any owner who had a parcel of land that was 4 house lots, four house lots, let's call them house lots. And this is how working class people in St. Michael lived. Most of us lived on people's land. In my case, for example, my parents lived on land belonging to the Housing Authority, and I made that reference during the speech on Tuesday. Other persons lived on lands belonging to a landlord, a private landlord. And that's how we in St. Michael lived. In rural Barbados, where Caswell is from, they would have lived on plantation tenantries. They would have lived on lands owned by the plantation. So that this law was seeking to enfranchise poor people who were living in tenantries. You call them tenantries. Okay, I've told the long story. So that when government passed this law, giving the tenant the right to force a sale so that he could go on, I think it used to be a Form 1. You would go up to the Ministry of Legal Affairs, I think it was, and submit this form, showing an intention to purchase the land, and the landlord could not oppose it. He had to sell it to you. Now, a lot of people were able to do this. They were able to force the sale by law. The problem is, a lot of them were old people, and they didn't have the money. I think the land under the law, I think it's 10 cents. You sell it at 10 cents a square foot. Again, the justice of the case. Lands around that time, land values $5 a square foot at that time, if I remember correctly. So here it is, you were passing a law and you were allowing the tenant to force a sale. Apart from that, you were forcing the landlord to accept a value which was below market value. You were telling him, look, you have to accept 10 cents. Again, it may have seemed oppressive of the landlord, but it was justice. You were enfranchising people whose labor had built this country, and you were just giving them the piece of land that they had lived on all their lives and raised their children and sent them to school and sent them to Sunday school and lived good, ordinary, decent lives. Government was enfranchising these people. I come back to urban. A lot of the people did not have the full amount of money. In some cases, it was $1,500, $2,000, something like that. It was a small amount. Well, for somebody who was well-to-do, but for a lot of people, that was a large amount of money, over $1,000. So the government said, well, what we're going to do through the Urban Development Commission, the Urban Development Commission will pay a part of it for you. Mm-hmm. Of course, it was making the government popular. Beg your pardon, this water will stop me from getting angry. Yeah. The government said, we are going to contribute towards the sale, towards the purchase, I beg your pardon. So they would give the tenant, I think half of the money, I'm not too sure, but it may have been half the money. And the tenant would accumulate his half. What was my role? I was representing the tenants because the gentleman who worked there told me, look, Ralph, you're my friend. We have a lot of tenantries to do. I want you to represent the people, the little old people who come, and let them pay the money to you. And when you collect the money from them and the transaction has gone through, Urban will send you half. The old people would have paid you half. I met the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life. These little old people would come to my office, and sometimes $200 at a time, $150, and I keep very good records, and like the old ledgers, and I am recording these monies. He's dead now. One of the most wonderful people I ever met was a chap called Harold Granham. Beautiful old man, beautiful man. And he would come to my office and we would sit and just talk. And one day he said, You see that mother of yours? You try and go and look for her often. And I'm saying, but you don't know my mom. He said, I know. And I said, I wonder why he's telling me that. And I live to, sometimes during the day, you just get up and you go and visit your mom, middle of the day. The problem with that is that if you turn up at your mother's house at midday, oh, Tony was wrong. Something wrong? They always think something is wrong. Anyhow, don't let me stray from the point. I just say that to say that I met some really good people. I met people who would, at the end of the transaction, bring yams and some little gift for me. And I did so many of those conveyances, so many of them. As I said, and the fee used to be $300, a small fee for all of them. It used to be a very small fee, so that you didn't make anything off of it. But my satisfaction was that every one of those persons got the conveyance to his land. The transactions were completed, everybody. I could not have got any money from Urban beyond what was required, because Urban would know the price of the land and they would send me their portion and the purchaser would give me his portion. Every one of those title deeds, every one of those conveyances was completed. And Marcia, Caswell and all, there was no complaint from anybody. Nobody made any complaint. And along comes this thing about, I don't know where it came from. To be honest with you, I don't know where it came from. I can speculate. But this thing about, he's been taking monies from the corporation, etc., etc. And I believe they communicated with the police. I don't know if the police threw the letter in a garbage can. I don't know what they did with it. But totally without foundation. I suspect, like what happened in Parliament on Tuesday, it was an attempt to assassinate my character on something that was absolutely baseless, something without any foundation whatsoever. Lands in Blackrock, lands in Grisettes, lands all across St. Michael, and every one of the purchasers tonight, they have their conveyances. And as I've said, I do not believe I ever received a fee over 300, and I think it's 350 or something like that. And I'll say this again. It was the statutory fee. On conveyances, the fee is set by statute. It's called a minimum fee, a fee that you cannot go below. So I never went, you can go above it. You can go above it, but I always kept to the minimum fee. And these were decent, really good old people who would come to the office and talk with you and so on. And every one of them, Marcia, tonight has his conveyance. I don't know where this foolishness came from. It is nonsense. It is absolute nonsense. And it disappeared. It disappeared in 2009. And a cousin of mine called me about 3-4 Sundays ago and told me it had appeared, some letter had appeared on the blog. I say, fine, they can do what they want. It is nothing. In my 40 years, I never, look, when I was practicing law in the early days, I had done so many cases on legal aid. And legal aid had not paid me for probably 10 years. But when you're a young lawyer, you're so excited to get the case, to get into the criminal court and address a jury, that sometimes many cases you do, and you don't send in the form to collect your money. There was one point at which legal aid paid me thousands of dollars because I had done several cases and never sent in the claim form. I think we used to call it the claim form, to claim your fees. So those, I'm not protesting my innocence, my integrity, but look, that's not me. That's not me. I am not given to dishonesty. I am not given to impropriety. I've been around too long. I've had, look, if I ever did anything like that, my parents would turn in their graves and come and haunt me for the rest of my life. I have young children. That is not me. I told a constituent 3 weeks ago, I have no intention of getting rich. And at this age, I'm not going to get rich. And I'm not trying to get rich. I'm interested in public service. I'm interested in seeing this country become the country that I know it can be. This used to be a better country. Yeah? And I believe it can become a better country again. Barbados is special in many, many ways. I have seen this country. I was born in the late 1950s here. And I know what is poverty. As I told people, I don't read about it, I lived it. I have seen people live in poverty and live harmoniously. I have seen a very, very, very happy country. I have seen us forge lives of happiness, living in impoverished circumstances, all the boys in the village together, playing cricket, playing football together on Sunday mornings, everybody going to Sunday school. On Friday nights, the parents going to revival night service, and all the women walking, coming up the street, and they shouting, "Miss Thorne, you ready?" And they gather and they walk up the street. This is the life that I have lived. I haven't lived a life on the edge of honesty. I have lived a life within the mainstream of decency and honesty in this country. That doesn't make me special. It makes most Barbadians special because that is how most Barbadians live. That is how poor Barbadians live. Lives of decency. Of course, you'd have people who were on the edge and they do things that they shouldn't do. But this was a very decent, humble country. I remember, Caswell, you may know about this. I think I was discussing this with Maxine a few weeks ago. When the mobile cinema came to the village, I went on the pasture and everybody went down there and watched GIS, and because people did not have televisions. So GIS used to send this truck out, put a screen up on the side of it, and everybody's there. Oh, an entire community. The entire community of Grisette's housing area and the entire community of Grisette's landing scheme, as we called it. They would move it to Kayfield and we would walk up to Kayfield. Same thing, no fights, nothing. People would just sit down and watch this thing. And at the end of the night, we as little boys would be running all around the truck and playing and so on. And then everybody's waiting for Bud and Lou. Kazal, you remember that?
Yeah, you're muted. Kaz, what? 1 second.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead again, Kaz. Oops.
Let us engage, Kazal. You remember that, or you weren't listening?
Very much so. No. I was just in the district police station yard.
Precisely.
Hall. We used to go in and sit down on the ground.
On the ground. These Marcia, these were the lives that we lived. The other thing, when the tank comes to the community, I think it was Seventh-day Adventist, when the crusade comes to the community during the summer vacation. Caswell, you know about this.
Boy, I had my soul saved about 3 or 4 times at those crusades.
And of course, you ask your mother to allow you to go. But you know, Caswell, we going down there, we're not going to any crusade. We up and down around that tank, and we playing catch up, and we playing all kinds of things. One night our father caught us, but that's another story. But these were the lives that working class people in Barbados lived. Decent lives, uneventful lives. The greatest event in our lives is that we showed each other love. And we didn't make plans to get rich. And I don't believe too many of us got rich, if any at all. That's the kind of life we lived. So I took that into my adulthood, living harmoniously with people. I become a lawyer in 1984. I become a lawyer in 1984, and I have lived the last 40 years of my life subscribing to the principles of propriety and decency and honesty, knowing, as I said earlier, that I could not betray what my parents taught me, what my Sunday school teachers taught me, what the teachers at Wesley Hall taught me. I could not betray that. I have no desire to be rich. I want to see this country rich. But that's personal testimony. So
yes,
all this nonsense about impropriety and how he took money from urban. Yes, I took money from urban to pay the vendors. If the vendors never complained. The vendors got their money. The purchasers got their land. Yeah, the UDC knows what they paid me, and they know that it went towards the purchase of land. This thing came out of what the Americans call left field. Somebody figures, man, why don't we destroy his character? Why don't we assassinate his character? Just like Tuesday night or Wednesday night, I beg your pardon. Why don't we assassinate his character? And that's what it is. That's why it never went farther. So that this lady comes into the parliament and revives something that had absolutely no foundation 15 years later. Why it never went anywhere? Because it had absolutely no foundation. It became the figment of somebody's wild imagination. Let us get him You know, and that's that. Let us get him. Just like Wednesday night, let us get him. What else can I say now? I mean, it is very difficult. It is very difficult to respond to a brazen lie with any eloquence.
Yeah.
All I can say, it is utter nonsense. And I'll tell you this, as I said, several friends called me. They're very concerned because when you hear somebody say that they're going to tell the police to investigate, your friends or your family get frightened out because they say, well, Ralph in trouble, but you got in prison. So they were concerned, and I was told, go to the media on Thursday. And to be honest with you, I went to the office on Thursday. I said, look, I'm not going to any media. This is so much nonsense. I don't think I should appear to be rushing to a media and I have something to defend. I said, look, I'm going to come here on this show where I can speak to Barbadians and Barbadians across the world and tell them the truth and to tell them the nonsense that allegation has been, to tell them the absolute nonsense. It has no foundation, you know. But my family was concerned, and I said, look, I'm going to come on your show, Marcia, and let the public know what is the truth. And the truth is that the original allegation was absolutely without foundation, and it is as much nonsense today as it was then.
Any of those lots cost $7,500?
Not one of them. Not one. Not one. Not one. They used to go, I think probably the highest price would have been about 2,000 or so. I'll tell you this though. I'll tell you this. When I was speaking, and I referred to a letter, and I declined to call names. I referred to a document, and I looked up at the lady. I said, I don't want to call the name. I have never felt such a sense of pity as I felt when she looked at me and said, you can call it. I know she did not want me to call it. I know she was afraid. I mean, you know, the color of her skin changed. I said, look, I can't call this name. I can't. Perhaps it was misplaced pity, but I said, I cannot call this name. I mean, I'm making a point on principle. I'm talking about what I perceive to be impropriety. But you go to a point where you say, look, you don't want to crush people. The people in Barbados have a right to know that there's impropriety, that there are close relationships which ought not to exist in a commercial setting, where the taxpayers' money, where $60 million is at stake. And I stood there. And when I read the letter from National Housing to, what's the company called, Hope, you remember I started by saying there, and I did not even want to call the name of the man to whom the letter was, when I could have called it, because everybody knows that he was CEO. Everybody knows that he was replaced and another fella became CEO. But I could not. I felt that I would have been drawing people into an objective parliamentary debate, and I would have been exposing them. And even then, I did not wish to do it. So that when she looked across at me and said, call it, I really couldn't call it. I really couldn't call it, because I would have been doing harm to her personally. I would have been doing harm to her associate personally. Yes. But I wanted to make the point objectively.
Yes, and that's the kind that was very noble of you, sir. Well, you know, enough of that. I think we want to move on from that. Thank you so much for taking the time to.
I'm sorry, Marcia. I'm sorry I went on so long on that, but
no, but it's important.
I really am.
It's important, and this is the kind of platform that you're able to come on and
I thank you. You know, I thank you for giving me the platform. This is the place I feel most comfortable. I don't have anything against VOB, but a young lady from VOB called me on, this has happened Wednesday, called me yesterday. And I said, look, they want a soundbite. Because I go and tell VOB, I could not tell VOB what I've told you. You know, it would have taken as long as I've taken to tell you, because it's a long story which needs to be told. And I could not leave it to a young reporter to report this as any soundbite. I'm not interested in soundbites.
Right.
I'm interested in the truth. And I felt that this medium, your program, was the best place for me to tell it. This is a place, this is a zone of truth. This is a zone of honest people, and I like to talk truthfully to honest people. And I did not wish to go to any newspaper for any editor to distill and distort.
Take a piece out. That's the thing.
Take a piece out. I prefer to come on the Marcia Week show where people speak honestly, and to speak honestly with honest people and to speak the truth. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you a long, long story about the old people who came to my office and all have their title deeds. And Marcia, you know, a lot of them have died. A lot of them have died. Harold Granham died. When Harold Granham came to my office once, you know, allow me this one. I remember when Harold Granham's, he told me a story about his wife. Harold was probably he was around 90 and his wife was 100. I said, but you have a 100-year-old wife. He said, yeah. And then he told me a very amusing story. He told me that, you know, when she reached 100, the Governor General, it wasn't the present head of state. I wouldn't tell you which Governor General it was. He said, well, she reached 100. I said, oh, so the Governor General came to visit. He said, no, we didn't want him up there. So I haven't told you which Governor General it was. I haven't told you the year. But I just say that to say the kind of relationships that I engendered in those nice old people, putting a few yams in my car, a few potatoes, and taking home on evenings from these beautiful people whose lives coincided with mine professionally, and it became personal. And I resent the very suggestion that there was any impropriety. They all have their title deeds. Their children, I hope, have their title deeds. And we are happy, except for this nonsense being carried into the parliament. And they calling that a parliament. They calling that a debate. No, wouldn't stay. Would not stay. Tell the political scientists it became a cauldron of malevolent personal abuse, and I would not sit there and endure it. I would not. I would be a fool to do it. So if whatever they think in terms of my prospects, it doesn't matter to me. I am not sitting down and letting anybody abuse me to my face. And you know, while the abuse was going on, one man was he literally jumped out of his chair and he started to chatter like a monkey. I'm sorry to say that, but he started to make sounds. There was glee, and he's pounding the desk. And this is somebody I've been very polite towards. But I'm capable of forgiveness. I really am capable of forgiveness. Perhaps I'll tell you this about that parliament and about that government. That parliament, that government lacks leadership. That's one of the main problems with it. I tell you, it was masterminded. And you see this thing about degradation. There has been a young man, not young, middle-aged man. When I crossed the floor, he has been up and down the constituency. And he goes and finds a lady who has a double amputation. And he takes her to Barbados Today, and The Nation, and CBC. Oh, Ralph Thorne wouldn't come and visit her. He says he cares about people. And he exposed her to the public eye. And, you know, I was saying, how do you degrade people like this? She's not a political issue. If you want to criticize me, fine. Find a way to criticize me. But you don't go and find a double amputee. Expose her to the pages of the newspaper for the sake of pulling down the man. He wasn't elevating her. He was using her to pull me down. And that is degradation. That was degradation, and there's self-degradation, because he is degrading himself as well. When he sees politics in that way, he is into self-degradation. And I want to say to you, there are a lot of politicians above who encourage that kind of thing, who believe that the political rivalry is about degrading yourself and degrading the other about pulling down the other person, when you're really into self-degradation. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of people see politics as a blood sport, and there are no rules of decency. As long as you can pull the other man down, the battle is completed. You've won the war, and you can.
But you know, I'm so happy. I'm so happy you said that, because you had the opportunity that you could have called names, as you said, and you chose not to call names because you don't see it as a blood sport. You are speaking up about on behalf of this nation. you were carrying the concerns of the citizens of Barbados. It wasn't a thing for you to go in and to tear down people. And I think that is what I've gotten, that I understand, that I'm learning about you in this whole discourse this evening. Now, we would like to move on to some questions.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking so long.
No, the people they're messaging me. Don't forget my questions, okay? So one of them, and the last time you were, I mean, that was so brilliant. The way.
Yeah, but you got easy questions for me, Marcia. I was on my feet for 5 hours this.
Not
Can
too
I please
hard.
have the easy questions?
Okay, and he has not seen these questions. Okay, question 1: can you indicate what are your plans to get the Public Accounts Committee up and running?
Excellent. That's an easy one.
And before you answer, could you just say what the Public Accounts Committee is?
Yes. I thanks, Marcia. I always say to people, anytime there's a name of an entity or a phrase that you don't know what it is about, look at its meaning. Public Accounts Committee. It is a committee that inquires into the state of public accounts, into the state of public monies, how you spend them. I think largely speaking, it is that. And that anytime there's reason to suspect that there has been impropriety or misuse of public funds, it is a committee in the parliament chaired by the leader of the opposition. The reason it is chaired by the leader of the opposition is because you naturally expect that it is something that the leader of the opposition should be concerned about, because he is not a member of the government. You can't ask the government to investigate itself. So the person who should investigate the government and to investigate government spending is the leader of the opposition. So that the leader of the opposition chairs that committee. Okay. The problem with that committee, Marcia, is that sometimes you don't get a quorum, because if they know that you're onto something, what they may do is boycott the sittings. Yeah. So if you indicate to them you're going to investigate spending at some statutory corporation or some other government entity, they may decide, look, if he's on Hope, for example, suppose I decide, look, Hope use public monies, let us make an inquiry into Hope. Chances are you will not get all of the members of the committee attending the hearing. And yes, they would boycott it quite deliberately. The government members have the power to boycott it. What you do, you call Marcia Weeks, Mrs. Marcia Weeks, and you say, Marcia, I want to announce to you that the Public Accounts Committee is going to try to meet on August the 12th. August the 13th comes, and Marcia Weeks calls me, has the committee met? I would say, no, it has not met, because we did not have a quorum. The government members did not attend. And that is called public pressure. That is using public pressure to bring those persons to the committee, so that if the committee's work seems not to be done, you tell the public why. The public has a vested interest. The public is entitled to know. So that is one way of controlling attendance, by letting the public know. Yes. Yeah. So that is a committee that is you can call it a watchdog committee, a committee that functions as a watchdog over government's monies. Yeah, and I can tell you, when I first became opposition leader, I spoke to the staff in Parliament within that first week. One, to have the committee constituted and to make plans towards its first meeting. The only reason that committee has not had that first meeting is because immediately on becoming opposition leader, along comes the estimates, that's 3 weeks. And then this week, this torrid week of a budget debate, which pretty much has lasted the whole week. Well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I want to promise the public of Barbados that we are going to try to do that first meeting. We're going to have the members constituted. I'm the chairman. I'm going to try to have our 2 senators, that's Senators Watson and Walters, on the committee. I'm going to try to get a committee that is strong, a committee that doesn't have a bias towards the government. Yeah. Yes. There will be government persons on it, and trust me, if we do a meeting and the government members don't come, I'm going to tell Caswell.
Correct.
I'm going to tell Caswell, and I'm going to tell him who did not come. And when we go into the third or fourth meeting and they still don't come, I'm going to call Caswell again. I say, Caswell, the thing not meeting because John Brown or Mary Smith wouldn't come. The public needs to know. Yeah, the public needs to know.
Yes.
But we're going to try to get that committee going as quickly as possible. As I said, a watchdog on government's habits in relation to money that belong to the public.
Yes, yes, wonderful. And we will give the pressure on this show. We'll definitely do that.
Yes.
The next question for you, sir.
Yes, please.
Given Barbados' high population density and the challenges of international migration, do you think it's time Barbados enacted an Alien Land Holding Act? Are we not obligated to safeguard our scarce land for Black Barbadians?
That's interesting. Huh? I think St. Lucia had one and Trinidad had one. Our administrations have justified it on the basis of investment. The view is that we have a lot of wealthy people coming here and we cannot do anything as a disincentive against investment. I think it reaches a point where you have to protect the lands. I mean, the West Coast, you drive down most of the coastal West Coast. I think it's more the West Coast than anything else. We've lost the West Coast already. The South Coast, and when I say we, I mean we Barbadians or West Indians still control fairly large portions of the South Coast. There will come a time when you have to protect it, and you may have to protect it by alien land holdings. You may have to, because the question is, if you allow a man to build a $10 million house in Sandy Lane and employ a butler and a gardener and a cook, a housekeeper, is that really great benefit to the economy of Barbados? It may not be. What returns? The question is, what returns have you had for allowing a man from Sweden or Switzerland to purchase a large house in Barbados? What are the returns? Sometimes the returns are not that great. He comes here, he employs people, he hires a car, he purchases services. I think the point has come where we must do an audit. I like to be objective on these things. There will come a time when we must do a land audit and look at the returns that we gain from these purchasers who are here owning land. But at the same time, I know there's official policy. You don't wish to appear to be excluding people, because we are largely speaking a tourism economy, and we like to describe ourselves as being very hospitable. The question is, it's an interesting question, and it reaches a point. There is a point at which we're going to have to ask ourselves as a country, what are the returns? I can't tell you, I don't know what the returns are, but perhaps the economists and the accountants will have to be engaged to say what the returns are.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Good night, person right. Good night, honorable leader of the opposition. Question: what are your plans to get the high debt down? If we, the people, give you a chance to take this country forward as PM, I don't know if you're that, and we will still be under an IMF program. I'm just reading what is sent to me.
Debt really, and I assume the person is talking about foreign debt.
Yes.
Your debt really is about needing foreign exchange to buy goods and sometimes services from other countries. One of the reasons you need to buy goods and services from overseas is because you don't have them here. As I said in Parliament, we are operating now on largely speaking, a mono industry. We are on tourism. And when I was speaking about the 15 difficult weaknesses in the economy, one of the weaknesses I referred to was the fact that we are overly dependent on tourism. Now, if we get our agriculture going, and if we get our energy sector going, we're going to have less of a dependence on foreign currency. Certainly, look, we have sunshine in this country 360 of the 365 days in the year. Scientists have discovered that is a source of energy. Yet, there's confusion. Nobody knows What is the real relationship between alternative energy? Cheap energy is cheap, it's free almost, and the what the light and power is selling to us by using fossil fuels. So that if we can move towards full alternative energy, the government had planned 2030. We can save foreign exchange, and when you save foreign exchange, your national indebtedness to other countries naturally drops. So it is not merely a question of borrowing less, but it is a question of producing more here, because there's a relationship between borrowing and producing. There's a relationship between importing and producing. The less you import, let me put it the other way around. The more you produce, the less you need to import. The less you import, the less foreign exchange you need. The less foreign exchange you need, the less you will need to be indebted to other countries. Yeah, so it is a question of developing your local economy. And one of the points I made during the budget, agriculture is ready. COVID taught us that agriculture was ready. During COVID, we were producing, I think I heard the minister say this, that during COVID, our production was up. I think so. And if it is, I would like to think that it was up, because we were forced to feed ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, we were forced to feed ourselves. So that is how I relate it to the national debt. Not only a question of borrowing less, but producing more. The two are related one to the other.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Another question here. The draft new constitution is a must for the people. It must represent their rights, interests, and inputs. Will you continue to make the call for this important document to be made available to the people for discussion?
Yes, unequivocally yes. That is something that concerns me professionally. I look when we became a republic, 21 December is going to be 3 years. 3 years. It is not right that 2.5 years into Republican status, nobody has seen the Constitution. What is it? What is in it? What is it about? How many pages is it? What is so difficult with it? I am not satisfied. I am not satisfied that the public has had enough of an input. Maybe the public has not been as interested as they should be. But certainly when we were doing our proposals on local government, when we went into the public domain, we discovered that the public was very, very interested in local government. I am wondering if the review commission has been aggressive enough in terms of coming into the public domain and discussing it clause by clause. I was going to say this in Parliament, but I'll say it here now. One of the things that disturbed me was when a certain minister said in Parliament one day, I think he said it in Parliament or elsewhere, he said, we have given the commission a template. Now, constitutional reform is not about a template. A constitution is not only the written word. A constitution is a set of political and moral values. Yeah. So you can't give them. You don't construct it like the frame of a house. It is not a template. You go into the public and engage with the public. What are our political and moral values that we need to defend? What are these political and moral values that we think are quintessentially Barbadian? What do we want to protect? What do we want to defend? What is precious? What is sacred to us? It is not about. It is not a set of commandments. Yeah, it is a document that protects political and moral values. Or put another way, it is a document that reflects the spirit of a people. Yeah. What makes the people who and what they are. So that because of that, you need to engage with people. It is not an architectural document. It is not a template. It is a document that reflects a spirit. It is a document that reflects people's values and value systems. What is it we wish to protect? What is it we want to continue doing that we've done before? What is it we need to change, for example? Resting on a democracy. How can we improve the democracy? My point is, we have not had enough public consultation. We have not had enough public engagement. And I suspect we have not had that because we have started philosophically and conceptually wrong. We have described it as a template. A constitution does not begin as a template. A constitution begins rooting itself organically within the society and allowing the members of that society to say what is sacred to them. That is how a constitutional development should begin.
Yes, thank you, sir. Another question, did you complete your entire statement to the House on Tuesday? If not, do you plan to present the rest of it through a video to the public? They want to know the rest. They want to know if you want to produce the rest of it on a video to the public.
You want to know why I'm laughing? I'm laughing because when I looked at my watch and I saw 5 hours, I started to feel sorry for the speaker. I said, look, let me stop now. But I did have a few other things to say. There will be other debates. There will be other debates in which I'll get the chance to say the things that I thought the public had heard from me long enough. I did not plan on 5 hours. Did not plan on that. I just planned to speak passionately to the issues. I just planned to communicate every important issue to the public. That is what I planned. I planned quality, not quantity. But when I looked at my watch and I saw 5 hours, I started to feel sorry for my audience, and particularly the speaker. So that's why I stopped. But I promise, Marcia and panel, that what I did not speak on, I will get to speak on that in a subsequent debate. I wouldn't produce a video. I think that's it.
If people are something else. Mr. Thorne, someone says, with the information Mr. Thorne has on the improprieties, without calling names, enough to publicly call for resignations or prosecutions? Is there enough to make that call?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Ask it again, please.
They want to know, with the information that you have on improprieties, without calling names, is it enough to publicly call for resignations or prosecutions? Is there enough to make that call?
I don't. Strategically and tactically, I'm not in the business of calling for resignations. What is the triumph is that the Prime Minister herself has said that she is going to start a probe or an inquiry into the thing. So let us live with that. Let us live with that. I have exposed matters, and I would allow the organs of state to do what the public expects them to do. And if they don't do what the public expects them to do, I would think that there should be consequences. I mean, you're talking here, and I assume the caller is talking about the whole situation. You're talking about $16 million, which has resulted in the construction of 131 houses. I mean, that's not acceptable. And if the government does not know, and the Prime Minister clearly knows that the government is boxed in, and that the government must give what we in Barbados used to say, give the people some satisfaction. And that is why she has said there will be a probe. Now, keep monitoring the thing. And I was asked about the Public Accounts Committee earlier. If the Public Accounts Committee can have some role to play in the question of hope, the question of hope, trust me, we will. Yeah. But I am not in the business. I am not in the business of throwing up my hands. Oh, this person should resign and that person should resign. What you will note, Marcia, is that there have already been resignations. I don't know if I said this in Parliament. No, I don't think I did. But within 1 week, within a 2-week period, several executives from Hope resigned. Y'all didn't know this?
Yes, we heard.
Yeah. There was a flight from Hope. And then, of course, there was the situation which I spoke about. Scandalous, really. The present management being concerned in other countries. But it is our money, $60 million. Yeah, $60 million. So I think the government knows that it is under pressure to do something. And we will wait and see what the government proposes to do. Simple as that.
Yes, sir. Someone wants to know, what is your opinion on the Bridgetown initiative? That's the
climate change thing.
Bridgetown initiative, I believe this has to do with all the is it the hotels that they're now that's not it. where is who can explain what this?
I think I don't know if is Maxine with us. Is it
There.
the Bridgetown Initiative? That is something that was authored by what's his name, Mr. Prasad, and he became the champion of this Bridgetown Initiative.
Okay, hold a second. Is this Miss McLean shaking her head? You're muted.
Hi, I was backstage for a while, so I wasn't sure that I was on. Yes, that has to do with the whole issue of small island developing states and climate change. So you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's where the Prime Minister has gone to the conference of the parties. That's the climate change, the Convention on Climate Change, basically capturing what has been the position of Barbados and other small island states. So
Yes.
But I think she has packaged it in a way, and her spokesman was
Prasad.
for a while Mr. Prasad, but he is no longer. He's somewhere else.
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, sir? What's your opinion on it?
Sorry. No, I'm fine. Yeah, sorry about that. Your husband was asking me something. No, not really. I don't think there's any controversy there. Sometimes you let the government do what it is entitled to do. I don't see any controversy with it. It is noble. I don't like to criticize everything for the sake of criticizing. I could look at it. I could see the details. I was looking at the comments from that people were making here, and there was somebody who had quite a lot of knowledge on it. But I think it's something that the government is entitled to pursue. The little I remember hearing about it, I didn't see any controversy with it. If it is intended to benefit Barbados, and if it is intended to bring some parity or equality to the relationship between small countries and big countries based on our vulnerability, how can I criticize that? Yeah, it was asking for parity between small countries and big countries, and asking them to treat us fairly, knowing that we are vulnerable to hurricanes. And I mean, a hurricane can blow us away any minute, during the hurricane season. So an initiative like that, I don't think we should be criticizing it. I think there should be national consensus on initiatives like that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. There's another question here. This is from a Barbadian in the diaspora. They're all over watching tonight. 2,207 persons.
Mm-hmm.
Westminster governance is at its core. Let me just get into the question. Do you think the office of the Prime Minister has too much power?
Definitely. And that is not a criticism of this government. That is a criticism of the Constitution that we've had since 1966. In fact, people used to say over the years that the office of Prime Minister is the office of an elected dictator. Prime Ministers under the Constitution of Barbados were involved in just about every major appointment. Our Constitution, our 1966 Constitution, gave a Prime Minister a lot of power and gave a Prime Minister too much power. Yeah, I mean, all of the commissions, the judges used to be chosen by the Prime Minister. Yeah, our Constitution gave the Prime Minister too much power. And one would hope, and that's why they need to come to the public. That's why this commission needs to come to the public to ask the public if they feel that the Prime Minister has too much power. You know the group that you should be talking to? You should be talking to very senior public servants who understand the distribution of state power. They live it, they practice it. And you should be asking them if the Prime Minister has too much power, if a minister has too much power, if Parliament gives itself too much power sometimes. One of the countries in the world that distributes power or dissembles power, dismantles power is the United States. But they tend to do it to the other extreme, so that at some point in time every year there's gridlock and public servants can't get paid because one party is opposing I don't know if they call it the appropriations bill, but the law that is passed to pay public servants. So they go the other way in terms of distributing power very thinly among various actors of the state, among various officials of the state, I beg your pardon. But yes, the Prime Minister does have too much power within the Westminster system. The Westminster system, definitely, there's no doubt about that. Question is, are we going to allow it to continue? Is that a political, and it's a political culture that we have accepted. You listen to the people in Barbados, oh, I'm going to the Prime Minister. You listen to ministers, oh, the Prime Minister has told me I could go ahead and do this. That is an admission, and that is a concession to prime ministerial power. And sometimes it is a justification of prime ministerial power. No, not in this day and age. That power needs to be distributed among the various officials of state. Prime ministers have too much power in our system.
Yes, thank you. The next question here is saying, should the cabinet be of a fixed size so as not to undermine Parliament's ability to check on the power of the cabinet?
Yeah, that's a very good idea. You know, in 2018, the observation was made that the size of, or the Parliament was sized, the cabinet, beg your pardon, the cabinet was sized the way it was to control the Parliament, so that you wouldn't have the pundits used to say, or the commentators used to say, well, you know, you win all 30 seats, you can't afford to have too many of them on the backbench in Parliament because you will have a rebellion at some point in time. I don't think that is how government should be structured. Yes, we should have. I mean, portfolio should be dynamic. Portfolio should be made dynamic to meet the needs of the time. But I don't think. I mean, when we first won in 2018, how many ministers were there? About 26, 27. The backbench was very small. It was myself and Dr. Brown. I think it was just about 3 or 4 of us on the backbench, and of course Joe was opposition leader. The cabinet was too large. That's the long and short of it. It was definitely too large, and it was almost as if people were falling over each other. That cabinet was definitely too large.
24.
It was 24. Still too large. Still too large.
And then they got some more now.
They brought, it's 26, 27 now. That's too large. That's too large. I mean, I certainly don't see the product of 2024, a collective of 26 people. I don't see it. I don't see it. Because, Caswell, every time a minister speaks, oh, and the Prime Minister has given me permission. That's it. That's a public acknowledgement that really you're not functioning ministerially. You're functioning according to the dictates of one person.
Yeah. The next question here, sir, is should the date for general elections be fixed?
Definitely. I know that Ms. Motley, that is her position. I would hope that finds itself in the Constitution. This thing about ambushing people, and from the time I was very young, I couldn't understand why people accepted it. And you're hearing, well, you know, they're going to call an election now and then impose austere measures after. An election date should not be an occasion for ambushing the public. You call it now, you give them some sweets, and then after you impose austerity. No, that's not how you should be calling an election. I think the date should be fixed.
Should be fixed.
Oh yes, definitely should be fixed.
Again from the diaspora, and I'm making sure I involve them because they're sending in their questions as well.
Yes.
Someone here is asking, does he believe there should be term limits for governments? Example, 2 5-year terms with fixed election dates.
Not sure how you're gonna. You mean you stop somebody from winning 4 times? You have to be careful about the will of the people. If the people, as in St. Vincent, the people in St. Vincent voted Gonzalez 4 or 5 times. That's their will. I don't know how you can control the will of the people. What you can control is the structure of the institution, and that is why fixed date. I agree with fixed date, but I don't think you can legislate the will of the people. If somebody wants somebody 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, so be it. It will frustrate the other party, but so be it. You're talking here about the will of the people. I don't know that you can legislate the will of the people.
Yes,
And
yes.
while you were on to the diaspora, Marcy, I wanted to say to the diaspora that if we're around here talking about needing more people, Barbados has a lot of people in the US and England and Canada. I think there comes a time, and look, we should be embracing the diaspora more than we have been. We have spent 50 plus years as an independent nation, and I would say the last 35 years, our diaspora has matured over the last 40 years. And when I say matured, they have come to a stage as a collective where they have resources and they've maintained an interest in this country that is theirs. And we do not do enough to embrace our diaspora. There are several ways in which we can embrace our diaspora. We haven't done enough. And when we were talking about being short on people, we are not short on people. New York full of Bajans. London's full of Bajans. Toronto is full of Bajans. So when we want people, the Barbadian resource is there.
Yeah, I just to say I'm a firm believer in that. I was in the diaspora at one point. Someone says, "Good night, sir." Why haven't you touched on NCC? They are alleging that there are real corruptions there. I'm just reading it as I get it. I'm trying my best to, I put the allegation in it there that there's a lot of corruption there.
Okay. Simply because I haven't received that information. But trust me, whatever information I receive as chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, we have a duty to pursue it. So that if the information comes, it will be pursued. I promise the public that.
Marcia,
yes.
There is something that I want to draw to Ralph's attention.
Yes.
It's simply that when he complained in his budget speech, because I listened to almost all of it, he said that national insurance contributions were not being paid, and the minister got it and lied to the House. Because you were absolutely correct. It is only after people like me and a few others complained that they went back and back paid some of them. To this day.
This is in relation to the English file?
No, the national contributions for when you said they were not being paid. When you made that remark, and Ryan Strong then said that they were paid and that and that is not true.
Okay.
Up to now, they have not all been paid. And what I jumped in now is because NCC still has people that they call contractors that are actually employed people, and they're still not paying them for them. Only this week, last week, the gentleman came to my office, said he went to National Insurance to pay, and National Insurance said, but you are not self-employed, so we cannot take self-employed money from you. Your employer has to pay, and NCC is not paying. So you were absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you. That's casual. I'd want to pick that up with you privately at some point, if you don't mind.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Someone is asking, is it true about some type of plan for motor rails to be implemented in Barbados?
Motor rails? You from a bigger country, Marcia. Help me. What's a motor rail?
I have no idea. I don't know if there's somebody, any of the panelists can quickly explain what that is.
If they're talking about improving our transport system, not for the first time has it been discussed. The idea of transporting people down the west coast and up the south coast and then dropping them off at harbors, one in Oistins, one in Bridgetown, and one in Spikestown, and perhaps one in Old Town. But motor rail on the road is going to be difficult. Trinidad did it with the priority bus route. When I was studying there, the Eastern Main Road, for those of you who know Trinidad, that was a major artery from Port of Spain right up to the East Coast. and people lived next to it. They had a lot of shops and so on. And then they built a priority bus route next to that, and it was actually running through a part of the St. Augustine University campus. And they used to allow only buses to run on it. So that was equivalent to a railway, except that it was buses. But I think they could do that because I believe, I speak subject to correction, they could do that because it used to be a railway line. Our original railway line is what they're developing as the cycle track by Haggett Hall and up through St. George or St. Philip, and I think down to the East Coast. That's the original railway track. But you wouldn't need that now because it doesn't lead to any dense residential areas. But to get a railway along the coast now is almost impossible, I would think. You'd have to displace too many people. So the idea of going into the sea may have to be the best one.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. There is another question here. Recently, we heard the minister of health that the A&E need to have a further expansion and they need funds to do so. Why was the current administration so short-sighted in the proper expansion of an important area?
For a long time, the government has been trying to persuade a lot of people to go to the polyclinics. And to be fair, they haven't been able to manage that system well, as far as I'm told. What the Minister of Health did say to us during the estimates is that there's a loan for, I think, 130 million. And I believe that they're still in the course of expanding A&E. But you can expand A&E, but you have to educate people that if they stump their toe, go to a polyclinic. Because, the hospital administration and the government are not always at fault. Sometimes it is the public, and sometimes you wonder if people don't just like sitting down there and waiting, and out of loneliness, I don't know, but they've been trying for many, many years to get people to go to the polyclinics, and it's a question of people not valuing the polyclinics as highly as they should. So I don't always criticize the government for the sake of criticizing them, because this is, for us, it is a public health facility, and it is for the public. So I think the public needs to use the facilities a lot more rationally. I think sometimes we're not using the facilities as we should.
Yeah, but then you must have doctors, because sometimes the 24-hour system, no doctor turns up for work because the doctors are treated very badly. They don't pay them well. They don't get vacations. They don't get sick day off or anything like that, and they actually steal from these doctors. They treat them very badly.
We are going to have to address the problem of, and I mentioned it earlier in the estimates, the brain drain. We're losing a lot of our young professionals.
Yeah, because they get treated badly.
I don't know why we're losing them, but we're losing them, and that's a crisis. As I said then, that is a crisis that the government, I don't know if the government is treating it as a national secret, but we are losing a lot of our good young people, and not only professionals. We are losing a lot of our good young people to Canada. The Halifax, the governor or the mayor of Halifax said he needs 30,000 new immigrants every year, and he wants a lot of them from Barbados. Yeah, so that the crisis is being promoted from within Canada as well. They're coming for our best people. So we are likely to grow old and grow very lonely in this country if we don't give opportunities to our young people, which is why I insisted during the budget debate that this, and the estimates, that this question or this concept that we have these super people coming from outside and frustrating young Barbadians, those jobs at Hope could have been done by Barbadians. I am still convinced that the CEO of the hospital can be a West Indian, a Caribbean person. I'm convinced of that. What is wrong with us?
Yes. Sir, thank you. There is another question here. So should the position of Prime Minister be contested nationally or separately, where the leaders go head-to-head at election time? The House should not... Yes, so that's the question. Should the position of PM be contested nationally or separately, where the leaders go head-to-head at election time?
They're really asking if the Prime Minister should be presidential where you have, and I think that's something like Guyana. Well, the Prime Minister in Guyana is he doesn't have a lot of power. Like the President in Guyana, again, it comes back to the political values of Barbadians. That's not a question for me to answer. That's a question to ask Barbadians. Do you want a prime minister who is presidential, who has that overarching power in his or her own right? Do you want that, Barbadians? If you do, you say yes. If you don't, you say no. Or do you prefer to have power, in theory anyhow, distributed among the members of a cabinet, of whom the leader just happens to be somebody called the prime minister? I don't know. I think that is why, as I said earlier, that is why we need to engage our population as to what are our political values. Do we want the emergence of a dictator? Because a prime minister can become a dictator within Westminster, I beg your pardon. A prime minister has too much power. Do you wish to move from that now to one where it is presidential, where you have a lineup of 2 or 3 persons and the country is voting for them? Why? What power will he or she exercise that makes a positive difference to Barbados? I don't know, but let them engage Barbadians on that. Do we want a presidential office of prime ministership, or do we want one in which the prime minister just happens to be the chairman of a cabinet, where executive powers reside? Because in theory, the executive power resides among that 12 or 13 or 26 people, as the case may be. Do you want to move from that and have a cabinet and then have a separate office of prime minister that, I don't want to use the word all powerful, but becomes all powerful? Is that a part of our political culture? Guyana has that. We don't. Is that our culture? Guyana seems comfortable with it in their constitution. I'm not sure Barbadians would accept it, though. I'm not sure they would.
Yeah. Someone in the comment is saying we probably should have, they're asking, should we then have a national referendum to answer some of these critical matters pertaining to our new constitution and the type of prime minister and the type of parliament, etc. And you're saying yes to that referendum.
Oh yes. That's a nice idea. And you don't have to have a referendum by people lining up by a school hall to vote. You can place the questions into the media, Barbados Today, The Nation. You can even put them on the radio stations and ask the basic questions. Do you prefer A, B, or C? You can do a referendum in that way. That's engagement. That's government engaging with the people. As I repeat, I am not satisfied that the government's engagement with the people has been satisfactory in terms of this new constitution. Nobody in Barbados, apart from the commissioners, Maxine, you're not on that commission. Nobody in Barbados knows what is in the document. How far advanced is it? Nobody knows. Why is it such a secret? We have a right to know. It is going to be our supreme law. It's not the supreme law. It's not a law belonging to the government. Excuse me. It's not a law belonging to the government. It's a law that will apply to all Barbadians. I don't know what is the secret.
But when you get a conveyancer to do that kind of work, that's where you get the problem.
You were getting me in that.
We have a question here. Let me just get in some of these questions here. Just a moment. It says here, can you give us any more details about the sheep program between Barbados and Guyana?
That's so interesting. When I raised the sheep issue in Parliament, they tried to dismiss it as a joke. And I don't think they understand the importance of the black belly sheep to Barbadians. All of us grew up and see these gentle little animals, very gentle, and at some point in time they become food. So that it is a question of how you feed yourself. It is not a joke. And to take up our precious black belly sheep, send them to Guyana. Nobody knows what has happened to the sheep. Somebody stopped me driving through Britain Hill, I think it was Monday, and he told me the story of the sheep. I said, "You sure?" I said, "Some of them died." He said, "Yes, some of them died. Some of them died." I don't know the truth. But during the estimates debate, Minister of Agriculture say that Mr. McLean is supposed to go to Guyana to do a mortality check. Now, mortality, as far as I'm aware, means whether they're dead or alive, or whether they've died. The rumor is that some have died, and that project is shrouded in mystery. Nobody knows why it was done. Nobody knows what has become of it. Nobody knows why did you send the people sheep down to Guyana when they could have been here on our pasture lands.
Yeah. Mr. Thank you. I think Reverend, you had a question, Reverend Ferdinand. Yes.
No, I was just in the matter to do with the Prime Minister, the election of the Prime Minister. I was just wondering if the persons were intending to speak to the type of Republican system in the U.S. where the Senate, the Congress, and the Prime Minister are separate powers and elected by the people, all three of the areas. I just wondered if that may have been what they were pointing to.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There is a question here. Can you ask Mr. Thorne if there will be an investigation into BRA and the land tax scandal?
Yes, that falls under PAC, and I'd like to encourage Barbadians to petition the PAC on any matters within the public service that they think needs to be investigated. So that's a public notice by this medium, because the people have a vested interest.
How do we petition? How would the public petition?
Please speak to the Clerk of Parliament. I'm not sure. I've never called it Parliament myself, but there's a number there, and I would think the public can petition us through the Clerk of Parliament, through the Office of Clerk of Parliament, because it's the public's business. I mean, we are not there to serve the Public Accounts Committee. We're there to serve the public. So if the public has notice of infelicity or impropriety, matters of concern, bring it to the attention of the Public Accounts Committee. That's why we're there.
Yes, sir. There is, and it would have been great to have had them all in, on the different topics, but they're just flowing in tonight. So I'm just reading them as they come. This one is on health again. It says the government is waiting on a buyer for Harrison's Point. Should this be integrated into the current health system?
I spoke to a doctor, not related to me, because every time I say that, people think that my brother bringing information out of the public health system. I spoke to a doctor recently, and he thinks that it needs to be integrated into the health system. And he is a doctor of some standing. Yeah. And I listen to professionals. People have this view that a politician knows everything. We don't know everything. We are here to serve, and we are here to serve. Part of our service is listening to professionals and accepting the advice of professionals. And a doctor of some standing did tell me that the Harrison's Point facility would make an excellent addition to the public health system.
Yes. Okay, there's a question here coming in on the comments. Says, question to Mr. Thorne from Joanne Tull. What would you recommend as one or even two of the immediate actions that ought to be implemented towards economic redress?
I told you to ask me the easy questions. I spent a lot of. I like when you're talking economics and economic justice. The first place you go is the vulnerable. Rich people survive in the poorest countries. So you don't look at defending or preserving the interests of the wealthy will survive. Anytime you're talking economic justice, anytime you're talking economic development, even if you're not talking economic justice, if you're talking economic development, a society cannot develop where the vulnerable are not looked after. And that is why during the budget, I spent a lot of time criticizing the misallocation. I spent a lot of time talking about priorities and saying that overseas travel and luxurious travel and allocations that were disproportionately large should be dismantled in favor of employing our most vulnerable groups. And our most vulnerable groups are our poor people. We're not being condescending when we say that. We're talking about social stability. We're talking about what is right, because the vulnerable have children, and those children who we brought into the world, we must protect them. We cannot marginalize them into areas of crime, into social anomie. A society must embrace everyone, and the persons who we must embrace with urgency always are our vulnerable people, our aging people who live alone, who don't have relatives around them, who fall out of the net of social care unless the state sends the home help people, and that's an excellent initiative. But the poor, the most vulnerable people, I am convinced, having studied this over the last 3 weeks, what I have learned, because it has been a process of learning for me as well, I am not satisfied that the government is allocating its resources in the manner that is offering protection to the vulnerable group called the poor people. You cannot be spending $188 million on the Prime Minister's office. You cannot be spending a further 180-something million dollars on the Ministry of Finance. You cannot be spending amounts within that category that come to about $500,000, because I did not give all the figures, but we are spending too much money on these luxuries and not spending enough on the welfare department, for example, and we're not spending enough on employing people who do manual labor. I mean, you cannot ignore them. They are present among us, and they will have children who are bright children, who will have talents, who will become more than their parents are professionally and intellectually and academically and so on. They're vulnerable. You cannot have a stable society unless you focus on the vulnerable. And anytime you talk, no economist should talk economic development unless he focuses on the most vulnerable. That's the point I was making in my speech last year when I knew I was leaving. When I was saying that, when I was criticizing the government for focusing on the macro, for telling people that the gross national product is healthy and the per capita income is healthy, and you have people that don't have a hope of a job, people that don't have a hope of a good breakfast, people that don't have a hope of getting a good dinner before they go to sleep at night. And that is not a society that is developed. If you want to see societies that are developed, you look at the Scandinavian countries, where from birth, from the time a child is born until his death as an old person, the society has created a protective net for that person. People in those societies are almost guaranteed a life of safety through life. They protect them. We do not do enough to protect our people because our concept of economic development is a macro concept. The point I was making during the budget speech last year is that you need to focus on the micro. You need to focus on people's lives at the lowest levels. Economic development is not economic development unless our vulnerable groups are protected. And I maintain that as my position.
Yes. Well, it's 9:30, and I know some of the viewers, they're saying, Marcia, please don't tire don't exhaust Mr. Thorne. I see people are concerned. So, but the questions are coming in, but we will take
I'm fine, Mark. I'm fine, Marcia.
Because I know the arrangement you and I had. So yes. That's why we're going. But I want to because a lot of the questions that are coming in at this point, they're repeating, a lot of repeating questions. But I want to ask if there's anything else that you want to say to Barbados. And then what I'm going to do, you could think about that. Think about it. And then I want the panelists just to take, real quickly to add anything to what they heard this evening from Mr. Thorne. Just really quickly, if everybody could take 2 minutes. And just to add something, I know Mr. Murray is here, and we haven't heard from him as yet. Let me see if I could bring him in to the studio.
Thank you, Marcia.
Yes.
Mr. Thorne.
Hi, Glenn.
Yes,
Glenn, please. What did you call me?
Ralph, Mr. Thorne, I have to treat your office with respect. As a proper Spooner man brought up with the same
That's right.
values, and I have to treat you with respect.
So Mr. Thorne was the other fella.
It's good to see you.
Always
Two
good to hear
things.
you, man.
First, let me make one observation which I noticed, which struck me last when you spoke on Tuesday night.
Mhm.
Your presentation, you use a term which caught my ear very strongly. You
Yes.
use the term anomy.
Yes.
I have been talking about anomy, and that triggered my sociological
Oh, yeah.
ideas, etc. I'm very glad that you were able to. And throughout your presentation, it's clear that you have a feeling for people and societies and how they function and whatnot.
Thank you.
But my primary mean for intervening is that I think it is important that you give the public an outline as what are you entitled to as leader of the opposition. Because there have been some stories circulated against you. They've resurfaced again that you were angry because you did not get a ministry, or you want to be attorney general, and that's one of the reasons why you left.
Mhm.
But apart from that, you know that Bishop Joaffe only had, I think he had a driver, very
Mhm.
minimal accommodations and services to serve the public. So I just want to let you know that I think you would let the person know what you're entitled to. Even if you tell me your salary is leader of the opposition, do you have an office? Do you have a maid? Do you have a driver? Do you have a personal
Yeah.
assistant? So they know under what pressure you have to function or to carry out your duty. I think that's important.
Okay. You probably won't believe me. I tell you, I don't even know. I did not even know my backbencher salary. I know it. They used to put something like $5,000 in the bank. I think it was around 5,000, and then my colleagues are going to hate me for this. And then we get 2,500 to do work in the constituency. And I'm going to publicly say that because during the summer vacations, for example, I would spend as much as $10,000 on my children's summer program. And then on Saturdays, we had a Saturday program as well. But to answer your question, there's an executive assistant position, there's a secretary, and there is driver. So there are 3 persons that we're entitled to. The other matter you raised as to me leaving because I wanted to be attorney general, never applied for the job. And it's a rather delayed reaction. You mean I sat there 6 years wanting to be attorney general and then left? No, that's no.
Just one last thing.
Just let me say this. I applied. I remember when I won in 2018, I saw this reporter circling me when we had a motorcade. And I said, I know what she's coming to ask me about my absence from the cabinet. So I had my answer ready for her, and I told her the truth. I said, I applied for the job as parliamentary representative. You don't, I certainly didn't go in with any expectation, and I say this in all honesty, I didn't go in with any expectation that I would have been in the cabinet. It would have been good because you can offer your constituents greater service when you're a member of cabinet. I admit that, but my exclusion did not surprise me. But I committed myself, Glenn. I committed myself to a constituency that every time there was a job available, I would ensure that somebody in the constituency gets it. I always ensured that the children in my constituency would have social programs that would enhance their lives. I always ensured that I would pay dignified attention to mothers of young children and old persons in terms of, how should I say this? In terms of financial assistance. I don't believe in hampers at Christmas. I don't do that. I believe in a more dignified way of assisting people. And let me tell you, I have that $2,500 that they pay us. I don't pay like bills with it, but I know what I do with it. And it goes back into the constituency, believe me. I put up a tent at the front of my office, and the tent cost me $8,000. And it's not only a tent, but it's permanent. It has a floor, it has a banister, and I told him it's called a community activity center. It cost me $8,000 in 2018 because when I won, I didn't intend to win and just stay with the bare constituency office. I wanted it to become a community activity center, and anybody can go up there and see the tent, which we have done seminars under that. We have the children do their day camps. We used to have Saturday reading classes, and on afternoons we would have a guitarist come in and Once Ade Punka came in and gave drumming classes, that is the kind of community work we have done. You know, sorry to give you that long answer. But I could find out what is the leader of the opposition salary. I could call Mr. Eastman tomorrow and ask him. But that has not been at the forefront of my mind.
I have one related question.
You said just hang on. Let me get Rose in there first, and with one, because she hasn't. So Rose, any comments from you, and then we're gonna go around. Yes, go ahead, Rose.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Thorne.
Hello, good evening, Rose.
I had no doubt about your presentation, the standard, the content. If it were different, I would be disappointed. But I am so glad that the level of debate in the Lower House now has risen, and that we are receiving content, we are receiving factual information, and which has prompted action. That was lacking, particularly after the exit of Reverend Bishop Joe Atherley. And I'm so glad that now we have you there. I was concerned, however, how you would have handled all the issues that were coming your way, the various issues and concerns that came from the well, or what was lacking during the estimates, and how you would have I'm getting a feedback.
Go ahead now, please.
Okay. You handled it well, I thought.
Thank you.
At least what has come out for me is that the action that the Prime Minister has promised that she would take to investigate Hope, as if she weren't aware of it. So at least I would say, but there was she. But then again, she's so often out of the island that might have caught her unaware. So she would not have known what was happening with Hope, although on this particular show, Kimar was pushing it and educating us, and you acted so prudently on it. And I want to say thank you. At least we're going to get an investigation. Let us see what kind of investigation. And I smile because I don't know if the Minister for Housing and Lands had prepared himself for that, because in his response on Wednesday, was it Wednesday? In his response, he listed all the wonderful things they were doing through Hope. And then to hear the Prime Minister come at the end and say she's investigating, and surely you have to advise me if it is his ministry that will be investigated, and will his head roll? You know, she talked about the scaffold or erecting here on the Marseille Week show to pull the country down. But I'm seeing that scaffold that I don't know how, I know you're familiar with the scaffold that was built for Mordecai. They built for Mordecai. They were hung on, and all their wealth went to Mordecai. Take a note, Mr. Thorne. So out of that, we are getting that investigation, and at least we were asking in this forum for a response from the Minister of Education. Well, at least she got a chance to speak up on the other day, and she was able to list all the things that they were doing, and the Prime Minister shielded her too, and response talked about that education reform will be pushed back by another 2 years. So at least we're getting some response, and I'm sure it's due to your effort and to your representation. And as someone who is really passionate about education, I was pleased to hear the attention that you paid to it on numerous occasions in your presentation. So thank you. At least we're going to get some action, investigation on hold, and push back for education reform to until the next 2 years. Thank you so much.
And thank you, the members of this show, for being in opposition before I cross the floor. So it's no accident that this relationship exists between us. This show has brought the issues to Barbadians in a way. I mean, if the Marcia Week show did not exist 3 nights a week, I think it is, I don't know what would have been educating Barbadians. I don't know how Barbadians would have been fighting against the paralysis of fear that gripped this country prior to this show. So you say thanks to me, and I'm grateful for that, but I want to say thanks to you as well. And Barbadians owe this show a lot for sensitizing them and for having the courage. It is not often that you will hear during it was the wrap-up speech or the budget speech itself, an attack on a show that is sensitizing Barbadians, a show that has a legitimate right to be present. I mean, Barbadians owe this show a lot for what it has done in terms of having the courage to tell the truth against overwhelming state power. So you say thanks to me. I want to say on behalf of Barbadians, thanks to the show as well. And it is growing in popularity because it is seen as a zone of truth.
Yes.
And that's what Barbadians need.
Thank you, Mr. Thorne. I want to say these are some pictures that of your program, which you did not, by the way. I am surprised that they're even on here. Nobody asked. It wasn't, Mr. Thorne didn't send them to us and told us, show them tonight. But this is work work in the constituency. You know, I'm telling you the truth.
The one I'm proudest of, the ones I'm proudest of, Marcia, are the ones with the children.
The children.
The summer camps. I was doing summer camps from day one. The last one we did that in association with the government. The government had provided, I think, snacks or something, but we've done some really good ones. Every year we were sending people to Harrison's Cave, and we were paying, by the way. Although I was chairman of Harrison's, I told the people there, look, don't even give me a discount. And we were paying for 30, 40 children to go to Harrison's Cave, something that they would not have done were it not for the summer camp that we did for them.
Yes. You can tell us at the end, but somebody here ask him if he will join the march tomorrow.
Yes, march tomorrow. I was planning to surprise you, but you brought up. I don't know if I can walk that full distance after this week.
Yeah,
because this week.
Well, you can come part of the way.
Yeah,
so there you have your answer. The person who sent me from St. Philip asking.
You spoiled the surprise. You spoiled the surprise, Marcia. You spoiled my surprise.
I spoiled the surprise.
Yes.
Oh my Lord! They asked me to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of it. So it's part of my job, to associate with good and just causes.
Yes, that's wonderful. Let me go to Miss McLean and then over to Dr. Ferdinand. Go ahead, Miss Maxine McLean.
Thanks a lot. And let me say that I want to commend Mr. Thorne. I will call you Ralph in other places and other times. As I tell you, I
okay, Miss McLean.
As the officer respect you, that's habit. But I guess what I want to do is to comment on a couple of things, because as I listened to you earlier, it reminded me today I went to the funeral of the father of Carlos Ford, young economist that some of you were hearing commenting. Yes. And to hear him pay tribute to his father, he and his brother, it really reminded me of the kind of life experiences that we had. That our parents, as I said, our parents did not have a lot of material things, but they gave us their best wishes and values. And I'm happy to hear you reiterate that. And if you give me permission, something else you said triggered a thought in mind when you said politicians don't know everything. And permission to speak to the exercise you went through, because you talked about your 5 hours on your feet, but you didn't talk about the 7 hours or more on Saturday.
That's right.
You sat down with a team of persons.
The finest Barbadians, Maxine, the finest Barbadians.
Kimar, take a bow.
It wasn't
Kimar and the old and the young party persons and non-party persons.
And the food was good too.
Yes, that too. But I thought I would share that because
yes, I'm glad you did, Maxine. That 7 hours last week was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience.
But I'm looking at it from your point of view, because there are other people who believe they know a lot. So in other words, the fact that you came with a level of humility and openness and willingness to learn and understand, in obviously, with I mean, you're talking about estimates, ministries, industry sectors. And I just wanted to share with Barbadians the seriousness of purpose to which you came to the preparation.
Thank you.
And I was pleased to be there, and I observed. I noticed you weren't reading a lot, so you obviously understood. You weren't reading a script that somebody gave to you per se, but I really think that people. I just wanted to share with Barbadians the seriousness of purpose and the level of commitment as was exemplified in the preparation that you did, and I thank you for inviting me to be part of that team. And it really and I also want to thank you for acknowledging the role and impact that this show is having. Marcia, take a bow as usual. You're the mother, the godmother, the whatever. And to Dave, who we don't see, but who's in the background, because in going around Barbados, as this show evolved, people were starting to talk about the level of knowledge, information that they were getting. And then since Tuesday, the comments about your reply to the budget have been extremely positive.
Thank you.
And so I look forward to the members of this loyal opposition supporting you in your efforts, because I think there's a lot that is wrong, which people did not get to hear. And my last comment, and this is to the Prime Minister about an investigation. The investigation into the whole thing began on this show with Kimar Stewart and continued. And my response to her is, if you want an investigation, let the PAC do the work that it should do in relation to that. That's my comment, Marcia.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for that.
Marcia, may I respond to Maxine?
Yes.
Somebody called me on Wednesday, Thursday, and asked me for a copy of my speech. It was a little awkward. I did handwritten notes. I didn't type. I didn't have a speech typewritten to read for 5 hours. I did handwritten notes, and I just expanded on them. And Maxine, publicly, I want to thank you. I really want to thank you. The rest is private, but you're an amazing lady. That's all I'll say.
Thank you. I take a lot of notes, and I can multitask. But tell the person that they can actually go and listen and do a transcript. Their technologies now.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But that was a wonderful group on Saturday, Maxine. And I don't mind the public knowing that what I did on Tuesday is the product of the finest Barbadian brains that came together last Saturday and brainstormed. And as I said, Maxine, at the beginning of the meeting, let us argue. We've not come here to agree with each other. Let us argue. And because we're doing this for Barbados. We're doing this for Barbadian, the Barbadian economy and the Barbadian society to develop. So we took it very, very seriously. Very, very seriously.
Can I just say, just before Dr. Ferdinand make his comment or question that what just happened here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it's so special that here it is. Mr. Thorne could have gone ahead and not say, thanks to the people who, helped him, and he could publicly say that. And I, as a leader, I was watching him and smiling, and I know what that means about, the type of person that he is. I hardly know him, but I as a leader, I know you make a conscious effort to do those kinds of things, and that is commendable. I want to say that personally, really. Dr. Ferdinand.
Good evening, Mr. Thorne.
Good evening, Mr. Nichols. So you see how ridiculous it sounds.
Marcia has my whole script down at the bottom there. His Excellency Reverend Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. But no, I do believe in giving the appropriate protocols when in public environment. When we're in private and so on, we can refer to one another on a personal basis. But I just wanted to commend you for especially tonight, speaking of your experience pertaining to the moral values that we have grown with in this country and what we have lost. I almost was tempted to say in danger of losing, but we have lost them. And there is a desperate need to rebuild them and recover them as a country. In terms of our moral values and our culture. Many people think that culture is to do with walking up and dances and all that, but culture is fundamentally the belief systems of a society.
Yes.
And I believe that we have lost a lot of them. So I'm really encouraged to hear you speak within that context. And I just wanted to raise a couple of areas. You mentioned in your speech what I consider to be a divestment of national lands and assets. You spoke pertaining to the property on Bay Street coming all the way down, the development of that property coming all the way down Bay Street, all the way down into Bridgetown, I think as far as the buildings on the wharf side. And I have been engaged by several people who have lost their businesses without any form of compensation whatsoever. I spoke to a young lady who had a small developing business in one of the stores that was in the building just as you go onto the bridge over to your left. And she has had major crises financially, meeting her commitments financially with the bank and so on, because they closed the building down. Would you be able to shed, and I'm just following my notes here, would you be able to shed any light as far as you are within your knowledge as to what is the position of the development of that entire aspect coming all the way down Bay Street? And mind you, it was alleged that government headquarters was involved in that aspect of the development, which is a national asset. It belongs to the people of Barbados. All of that area coming down from the Hilton, all the way down through, I can't remember what they call that area, Bay Street Esplanade, all the way down through Browns Beach, all the way down by Savvy, all the way through the buildings there on Bay Street. We can see a derelict area from as far up as where we used to have Detco Motors, all the way down. Would you be able to shed any light as far as it's within your knowledge as to where we are at with that? We are told that one of the areas, I think, down toward the end is owned by a Barbadian. Of course, I don't know, because we don't know. We don't know who is purchased. We don't know who is tendering in terms of or purchasing, anything to do with that. The only thing we really know about is Hayat. That's the only thing we know about. Would you have any capability of shedding light on that?
I would follow your phraseology, Dr. Nichols, and say, I don't know. You were saying we don't know. I would think, while you were speaking, I think we need to call BTII. That is the corporation that deals with tourism investment. And I know that the Prime Minister had designated it as an area of tourism development. I call it the corridor. That corridor, Bay Street, stretching right down to the harbor. Very little has happened, and I want to say this publicly. And the little that has happened under threat from the government. That's Savvy on the Bay. You know, he is involved in a running battle with government for the survival of that project. And the other projects have not started. You get a sense that there's a lot of stuttering, stopping and starting along that Bay Street corridor. As you said, we don't know who the owners are, but I would suggest that we could speak with the BTII office, the Barbados Tourism people, and find out what's going on.
And if I may, Marcia, just one quick thing: how that impacts the what is it that they refer to as Bridgetown as a goodness gracious me, something like a national trust. I can't remember the exact terminology. Maybe Maxine or one of them can help me with that.
You're talking about the ecology?
No, the
heritage.
Yes,
the heritage site. Yes, that's important.
Yeah,
because they are saying that the Hyatt may offer some threat to our heritage designation. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, the heritage that the Hyatt doesn't fit in with it. I've heard that before. And those nice old buildings that really gave Bridgetown its character. The old Musson building, the old waterfront buildings.
Yeah, and where the slaves were brought in. I mean, there's a phenomenal amount of history of Barbados that is wrapped up in all of those buildings, even across on the side by the immigration department.
Yes, which has tourism implications because
thank you.
It does. And this may be self-serving here, but I have an idea that Oistins needs to be further developed as a heritage area, that it could be developed, the other side of the street could be developed as a chattel village. And when I say chattel village, I don't mean to diminish the houses of the people who live there, but to redesign them with all the amenities, all the facilities, but give them some design, the houses on that side of the street, so that when a tourist comes to Oistins, he is seeing an entire authentic Barbadian village. Yeah. And I've said that to say Bridgetown needs to be the same. When a tourist comes into Bridgetown, it's like the old, you ever went to Puerto Rico and saw Old San Juan? Which used to be
yes, I have.
Yeah. So
in the Bahamas and so on, yeah.
Yes, so that heritage is important to the whole tourism product. And we have moved away from that in Barbados, so that we used to see the National Trust people as a group of old conservative people, but they have a point. They have a point in terms of keeping that character that makes us Barbados, that makes us attractive. And we have tended to move away from that. We need to recapture that for the purpose of developing a tourism product that is authentic, that is unique. That's the word I'm looking for.
Thank you.
And we don't know what is happening with Bridgetown. We're destroying the old architecture, Ferdy, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ferdinand. Kimar is here. Kimar, any comments for Mr. Thorne? We are 9:59, so everything, we have to be so concise at this point because we don't want to keep him here too long. We have the
I'm fine, Marcy. I'm in good company.
Fine?
I'm fine.
Listen, my viewers are trying to tell me, don't, be careful. There are not too many questions, Marcia. They don't want me to exhaust you. So Calvin, you here? He's fine. They want to make sure you're good. Okay, so Kimar, any thoughts or questions for Mr. Thorne?
Yes, well, good night to you, Mr. Thorne, sir.
Hi,
very happy to have you.
Always a pleasure.
Very happy to have you on the Marcia show.
Thank you.
This is a very onerous moment for me. Like I said, I said it earlier, to witness history in the making, to be able to observe the way in which you handle the role that you have, not only an official role in terms of leader of the opposition, but handle the mantle that was given to you. I saw someone mention the Thor hammer. You were given the Thor hammer to go in there, and you really laid down principles of everything. Fathers, corrections, principles of law. You really applied every single discipline there is under the sun for me, and I was totally pleased.
Thank you. Holistic is the word we're looking for.
Yes, I think he dropped out.
Yes. No, I can. You can hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, Kimar.
Yeah. Yes, so I would expect persons would expect me to mention a bit about the Hope project. Thank you for raising the Hope project. Barbadians needed that. I've never seen such level of discussion surrounding a topic like what's happening in Barbados with this Hope project. That $60 million that you spoke about on the floor of Parliament really, really opened the eyes of many Barbadians about the high propensity of corruption happening. I think Barbadians at large want something new, they want something fresh. And I think what you did there actually changed the political landscape and caused Barbadians to sit up and seriously pay attention as to what is happening within the finances of the country. They're expecting much better of the leaders. And there's often the same way you live in a glass house, you don't throw stones. And there were persons in there who lived in glass houses who were throwing stones. And though they had to lift a hand, the public dealt with them quite fine because it was not a very pleasant day for them in terms of social media. It was not a pleasant day for the government in terms of on the ground interaction in the communities with the people. And I think this is the beginning of what Barbadians were longing for, what they were thirsting for, in terms of a person to step up to the mantle and to serve their interests with integrity, first and foremost, respectability, and a level of patriotism that we have not seen exhibited in Barbados for quite some time.
Thank you, Kimar, and let me publicly say thanks to you for being a part of that group last week, Saturday. Thanks, Kimar. I mean, we talk about hope, but I remember the documentary. You call it the documentary you produced. Excellent. If you had not done that, Barbadians would not have become aware of the emerging scandal that it has become. So thanks to you as well, and thanks for being there last Saturday and feeding us what Barbadians needed to know. Saturday was the engine room. What we saw on Tuesday was, the finished product, but Saturday was the engine room. And as I've said, I don't know that some of the persons there would want me to call their names publicly, but that was a beautiful gathering of people, a really beautiful gathering of people who spoke honestly, and spoke to the issues in Barbados. We didn't have to go overseas and look for people to tell us what is going on here. Marcy, why are you laughing? That was it. And beyond the group that met were the persons who we were talking to by WhatsApp. I mean, I get a sense that our good Barbadians, the finest of Barbadian intellects. Maxine, can I push a case for UE or that's being insular?
Who is it for UE? No, that's fine. UE is regional.
Man, 60 something years later, we can do things in this country, and I say we, not I. UE is okay. Anyhow, you know what I mean, Maxine.
You're correct. No, I think it's an interesting reality of the Caribbean. I mean, and I had the fortune to spend a lot of my time around there. And since you have talked about UE, let me plug UE alumni. I'm no president, so I of the Barbados chapter. So
I owe you some subscriptions, Maxine.
Yes, sir. I won't make no retroactive, but can I say something very quickly about hope? Because I want to ask a question in relation. The Prime Minister mentioned. Sorry. Let me go to your presentation. She mentioned an investigation, but you mentioned the fact that this $60 million, which came from the fund that's at the housing credit fund, and the Prime Minister, she said that it was a loan. Now this is supposed to be a PPP, right, Kimar and company?
Yes.
It's supposed to be a PPP. You give them a loan of $60 million, and you also give them a total of 478.2 acres, if I have the number correct. Yes. What is a PPP? I thought that those things were intended to bring resources. Now, if you're doing a housing development and you get them money and get them land, what else? What are they bringing? A bank account to put the money overseas? Anyhow, no, I really was concerned because when I heard that, my question, and I put it out there for the public, what exactly are those people bringing, and what's the nature of that so-called PPP? I forgot to say it when I was, but as Kimar was speaking, it came back to me.
Yes. Thank you, Miss McLean. There is. I want to go to the general, but there is someone here, and apparently this question was reoccurring in the comment section, and I didn't see it. So if Mr. Thorne would just oblige us, can we ask a question now? Is that okay? Or
yes, please. Yes.
okay.
Let us talk.
Will Mr. Thorne agitate and advocate for the re-establishment of a national bank? Re-establishment of a national bank. Will you agitate and advocate for it?
Only if it is necessary. You know, people have a view that a national bank is a national asset. Maxine may know more about this than I do, but we have learned. The caller would have to say why. What is the virtue in a national bank? There may be some, but what do national banks do that the other commercial banks do not do?
Yes,
I am not sure.
And the credit unions, no, and the credit unions. That's the question I would ask.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Mr. Franklin, do you have a question or a comment on what Mr. Thorne has said tonight, or any of the questions, etc.? You're muted. Yeah. Okay. Hit it again. Touch your. Yes. We can't hear you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Marcia. I'm going to say something that I don't normally say. It's not something I usually say. I'm going to be brief.
That's a relative term.
I'm going to be brief, but I want to first of all commend the leader of the opposition, and I say leader of the opposition because in that role in the budget reply, if you can call it a budget, it reminded me of a presentation of Tom Adams. I don't know. I'm not trying to flatter you or anything. So they taught them on par. When I was a youngster, I remember Barrow didn't do a budget. He said it was a fireside chat, and you would remember.
Oh yeah. And that's when he responded immediately.
And Tom got up and Tom performed well, and without because Barrow said it wasn't for a budget, but Tom had what he wanted to talk about. And because let me tell you something, the Prime Minister's budget did not raise to the level of a budget. I can tell you that much, because she didn't address the estimates and how you're going to close that gap, because that's what the budget normally does. It wasn't a financial statement telling people what's happening with our finances in Barbados. It was just a rant, and at one stage, an attack on people for us. And I'm firmly behind Marcia. So when she attacked Marcia, she's attacking me. So I ignored her. So I'm telling you, you were masterful. You were a teacher, you were a lawyer, but you should have been a teacher with one of those whips, because you always when we had a whip, my teacher used to walk with a stick. But you should have had one of those, because they weren't learning. Always the people thought if you didn't take it in here, you should take it in the other way. You should put some lashes in here. You should, but the lashes came, but verbally, and I was very proud of you. I must admit, I'm not one of those people who show accolades so often. So trust me on that. But I want to ask you about a couple of things. One is this nonsense procedure in the well of Parliament. You're exposing public officers to that danger, because if they go in there and call my name, I can sue them. Because the speaker has not taken those rights from the president or the head of state, those ancient rights for any public officer. He has only taken it for the elected members, so they can go in there and defame you like they try to do, and you can't sue them because they did it under the cover of parliamentary immunity. However, this nonsense about exposing public officers, I want public officers to be aware that they are in danger when they go into the house, and the ladies put on a string of pearls and go and look good because they understand that, but it is not their job. That is the one thing I want to address. Want you to address.
Yes.
And then I have here in my hand the personal monuments. We have a situation in Barbados where a nurse, after 4 years, a 4-year degree at the community college, she starts earning $40,000 per annum. She starts at $40,000, and she can go up to, I think it is 11. That's but what happens there? This is 40,000 Barbados, $40,820.12 per annum. I happen to know because I have a daughter who is a state registered nurse in New York, and her first job offer was $98,000 US dollars.
Wow.
I know we can't afford that, but I believe that nurses in Barbados, the kind of role that they perform, this is at senior clerk level I'm talking about. You don't, a senior clerk is 5 or levels and enough years in working in service and stuff. This aspect will cause what you call the brain drain, what people call the brain drain, because if you can earn 98,000 US dollars, if you leave Barbados, and that's what some of the nurses that we brought from overseas have done. As long as you got Barbados on your CV, that's where a lot of the Ghanaians and Nigerians and everybody, they come and they get Barbados on their CV. And once you got Barbados on your CV, a whole new world opens to you, because Barbadian nurses are very well trained and sought after in United States, Britain, and Canada. So what I want you to concentrate yourself on retaining our good nurses,
Okay.
rather than Prime Minister offering to give them a couple more weeks vacation, or giving them an allowance to buy uniforms when they entitled the uniforms already. So I don't understand why she's going to give them an allowance to buy the, unless she wants to say that the government going to stop providing uniforms, because from all of my knowledge, from the time I was a little boy, nurses got uniforms. They didn't have to buy them. So she came up with a few little things that she didn't understand, and I think that is a pity, And
you're advocating an increase in salary then, the base salary.
A base salary and better conditions, so because it isn't only salary that will keep people here. If they can get good conditions, because they might want to be close to their family, they might leave out that $98,000 and stay at home because the conditions are better.
It is home. People prefer
and it is home, and you still have, you don't have to leave your children with the grandmother or the aunt or somebody like that. And I also want to say to you, do not concern yourself with political alchemists, most scientists, I think they call them. Because you have they have biases and biases. So ignore their biases, because
they're like the rest of us.
Nobody don't pay them any particular, but they are biased in a particular way. Right?
Cheerleaders sometimes.
Yes.
So in lieu of time, Mr.
Okay, I have one last thing to say to him.
Okay.
And it's also to commend him again, because he has done something that the Prime Minister, having been Prime Minister from 2018, has not done. Subject herself to the people of Barbados. Those rubbing shoulders and those press conferences and those Paris speak does not amount to what you have done, because the questions that she gets are...
It's all choreographed.
Yes, they're choreographed. the people, she has to know that you have to give them the questions before you ask them, and then you will get Alfie Wiggins or somebody come out there and say how great the Prime Minister is, as I've seen in some of them. So again, I must commend you because you were able to sit at this show and take questions from your people, something that, and I'm one of your people, and that she has not been able to do out of fear.
Yeah, what may come. Thank you so much, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Caswell. Thanks very, very much. And we missed you last Saturday.
Yeah, I had some things.
Yeah, we
that
heard. We heard.
Yeah. Mr. Thorne.
Yes.
Yes, we're closing, and I wanted. Oh, I'm sorry. Where is Mr. Murray? Mr. Murray?
Yeah, I'm back here.
Yes, you had a comment to make, and
Yeah.
I had asked you to wait. So yours will be the last comment, and then Mr. Thorne will give us his final thoughts, and we close off the night. Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Yes, thank you very much for remembering and for accommodating me. Ralph, what do you want to ask? Right, you got a proper bonus and long gap area to talk. All right. What I want to ask is, you said you're being a driver. Going back to your office as leader of the opposition, which is a constitutional office, and I feel should be treated and outfitted and catered to properly. You have a driver. Are you being provided with a vehicle?
Otherwise, I will tell you this. I don't want anybody driving me. I like to drive myself.
So I don't understand the driver. What, drive your car or your vehicle or what?
Generally, I don't like anybody driving me.
All right. But I think that's something. I think for your office, that's something that should be looked into, because they are like any other government department that often will deserve a vehicle. Your drivers will have to run around Barbados doing things for the office, and therefore they should be getting a lift fare or getting taxi. Or I think it'd be for day.
If you get too comfortable in the office, you may lose your ambitions.
No, but that is all really. What are your thoughts? What are you going to intend? Is your intention to pursue the question of a subvention for the Democrat Labour Party only, because the subvention is not any part of the Constitution or any canon or any law, any regulation. It's a decision by the Commission of Parliament, which is run by the executive. I think that a serious case can be made, not for you, not for but for the citizens of Barbados who need to be able to be catered to properly. And I remember Owen brought about it was to preserve democracy in Barbados, because his contention was that the two political parties, despite whatever anybody might say, have done a tremendous amount for the development of Barbados, the two political parties and the public service of Barbados. I think that is something you should not lie follow in the arms and ambitions and petty peevishness and whims and fancies of any one person or group of persons, because it's part of the Barbadian political landscape.
Yes. Glenn, I would say to you internally that it's an administrative matter,
right?
Which should be dealt with by the executive and not the political leader.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Mr. Thorne, what are your final thoughts to Barbados? I want to just say thank you so much for taking the time. It's after 10 and you're still here taking questions and comments, etc. Thank you so much. What do you want to say to Barbados?
I would hope that the new energy which Barbadians are displaying, the new political energy, is not seasonal. I hope that Barbadians sustain that energy throughout the year. I hope that Barbadians will now feel that they should have the courage to speak out and to speak to the government and to speak at the government when they feel that their rights are being threatened. So that I don't want this week or the last few weeks or the Marcia Week show to be that only zone of protest. Protest is legitimate when it is aimed at producing the just society. And I hope that Barbadians do not treat this as a seasonal event, that Barbadians recapture that spirit of, and as I say, protest, And if you want to talk protests in Barbados, Calypso season. Glenn knows, and all of us know, we're at the age where we know that Barbadians used to look forward to the Calypso season. Not so much that they wanted to dance, but they wanted to hear the views of the people, of the people's poets who were the Calypsonians. And even that has been suppressed. It is difficult these days to get a Calypso in which people are protesting, are talking at the government, are talking towards the government, are talking in defense of the rights of the ordinary man, are talking in defense of the rights of the country, and we have lost that as a people. So that if recent events, including this show, are contributing to a new political energy in Barbados, let us sustain it, because we're all concerned about creating a better society. We're all about creating a democratic society. We're all about creating a just society, and a society in which people are living in fear is not a just society. So I hope that we can recapture that Barbadian spirit. And I hope that we can, I go back to the Calypsonians. The Calypsonians are our most important poets. They're the ones who bring us face to face with who we are. They're the ones who tell us of our condition. Somebody said the other day, you can go back to 1985 or 1990 or 1991 and see, identify what was happening in Barbados. The Calypsonians are now our historians. I am wondering if we haven't lost that, if our cultural landscape has not lost the Calypsonian, if the Calypsonian has not now become something other than what he used to be. I don't want to be uncharitable, but let us recapture that spirit of holy protest. Yeah, we need to recapture that. We need to stop being afraid. We need to stand up to the government, not to challenge the government, not to bring down the government, but to tell the government what we think are our rights and that we want to exercise those rights. So let us, again, let us not treat this as a season. Let us treat this as a way of life in which we will continue to press for our individual and collective rights as citizens.
Wow. Awesome. 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 What a way to end. Let us continue. And, it's an encouragement for tomorrow, guys, where we go out on the streets and we are doing this. We're well within the law. And as law-abiding citizens, we have our permits. We will obey the police, but we're going to speak our minds. We're going to say what we believe, and that's what's going to happen tomorrow at 11:30 right there. Massey car park right there at Kensington Mall. That's where we're going to start. And then we go all the way to Independence Square. And we will have some speeches in Independence Square. Bring your water. Make sure those of you who need your sunscreen, you have your sunscreen, you've taken your medication, whatever it is that you need, that you have done that, okay? Mr. Thorne, I want to say thank you on behalf of the people of Barbados.
Thank you very much.
For serving us in this way tonight, serving us in this way of transparency, openness, just being here and bearing your heart to us. You knew that we wanted some answers. Based on just what they were saying in Parliament, and you came prepared to talk to the people from your heart and to hear the questions as they were coming. And we just appreciate that. I want to thank you on behalf of the panelists who they're here 4 nights a week, and they are in the toil, working hard. And I want to thank you for validating them and for taking a lot of what they have been saying on this show inside of Parliament. Sir, we thank you so very much. And this is always a platform that you can come back to. We're saving some of the questions. I asked somebody who's assisting me capture the questions, and to save them for another time. Okay? Thank you.
The pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I want to thank everyone who came, over 2,000 people, a larger audience than even the last time. Thank you all so very, very much. Everybody who came on tonight, and we are going to see you tomorrow. All 2,000 of you. Those in New York, take a plane and come down. But we're going to be out there. All right, to see you all. Good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Bye.